Okay, we are ready to get started. Seriously. Today is Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. This is the City Council's regular meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order and giving notice to everyone here that the City Council may vote to go into executive session for discussion and consultations with our attorneys on any item listed on the agenda. And can we have roll call?
Mayor Daggett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sweet. Here. Councilmember Aslan.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember House.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews.
Here.
Councilmember Spence.
Here.
Councilmember House, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
It would be my honor. Please stand if you're able.
The mission of the City of Flagstaff is to protect and enhance the quality of life for all.
The Flagstaff City Council humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacy, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. All right, next up is open call to the public, which allows the public to address the council about any item that is not on tonight's printed agenda. You have 3 minutes. There is a clock up here. And because whatever you're going to talk about is not on the agenda, we can't have a back and forth, ask questions, that sort of thing, but we can ask staff to follow up with you. First up, we have Stephen Poor.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Last May, the Council was asked to approve an investment management contract by the City Treasurer, Rick Tatter. The contract was to hire U.S. Bancorp Asset Management. Rick misled Council by stating that U.S. Bank Asset Management investment performance outperformed an inappropriate benchmark. The benchmark Rick used was inappropriate because it did not actually reflect the holdings in Flagstaff's investments. The benchmark used was 100% U.S. Treasuries and agency debt. Flagstaff investment policy allows U.S. Bank Asset Management to invest up to 60% in corporate debt. Since corporate debt has a maturity of 5 years, historically provided investors with a return of 1.7 to 2.5 higher than U.S. Treasuries and debt, this added returns makes it easier to beat, very easy to beat, an all-Treasury benchmark. Who signed off on the easy benchmark? City Treasurer Rick Tatter. Who signed off on the investment policy statement? Rick Tatter, which included allowable investments up to 60% corporate debt. He knows what it's allowed to do. And also in that investment policy statement, it says a benchmark is defined by shall reflect actual holdings. The benchmark has zero corporate debt. The last 3 years, our investments had 10% corporate debt and 13, 17%. And again, U.S. asset management can invest up to 60% at a drop of a hat because we told them could. So we keep on providing this information and suggesting we're beating a benchmark that doesn't reflect our own definition of benchmark as defined by the Treasurer. On July 21 of 2025, City Council got a report from Rick Tatter, and it laid out the investment returns for 23, 24, and the last 5 years ending 24. Once again, it claimed to beat a benchmark which was inappropriate. You take a benchmark with corporate bonds, we do not outperform any of those benchmarks. So my question, Council, I've been bringing this to you for over 5 months. I've sent numerous communication. When are you going to stop the misleading to the citizens of this city that we're outperforming some fallacious benchmark that has nothing to do with our investments, what we ask them to invest. When are you going to step up and do your obligation? Change the benchmark, call out the manager. Possibly in the next week, SEC goes back to work. And once they do, they're going to slap the hands of this investment manager, and then you're going to come back, and you've been told for 5 months to do what you should do, and the SEC is going to do it for you.
Thank you. Devonna McLaughlin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Devonna McLaughlin, and I have the honor of serving as the I don't know my own title, sorry, CEO of Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I just wanted to take a couple quick minutes to share with you our fiscal year 2025 impact report, which I've got copies for council members and staff. Housing Solutions has been really busy in the last year working to create opportunities for safe, decent, and affordable housing for folks in Northern Arizona. And I want to point out a couple of our successes and milestones over the past year. First, last year we opened a new property in Cottonwood called Oakwash Homes, which was a motel conversion serving households experiencing homelessness to create permanent housing opportunities for residents down there. In the first 3 months, which was the end of our fiscal year, the end of June, 24 households moved into Oakwash. 54% had a disability, 42% are elderly, and the average monthly rent is $500 a month, including utilities. So we're super excited to have brought on additional rental resources for households down in Cottonwood. We've continued our investment here in Flagstaff, serving hundreds of households here in Flagstaff over the last year. Specifically, 22 households in Northern Arizona bought a first home with down payment and closing cost assistance administered from our organization. A large portion of those funds came from the city of Flagstaff, and then we layered in assistance from the state of Arizona, Cottonwood, Sedona, and the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. Last year, we administered $944,000 to 22 local first-time home buyers. 36% of the households were female-headed households with an average AMI of 93.3%. We also counseled an additional 109 households, helping them to understand their home purchase options and prepare for home ownership. JoJo's Place, our transitional housing program serving households experiencing homelessness that came on board the year before, served 60 households last year. 63% of our residents were elderly or disabled. The average area median income of households served was 25.58%, so we're serving very low income households with an average monthly rent of $527 a month, including utilities. Sharon Manor, our transitional housing program serving victims of domestic violence who are experiencing homelessness, provided housing to 45 survivor households, 45 adults, and 54 children. The work that we're doing is meaningful, and we can't do it without you, so I just want to say thank you to the city, to our partners, to our investors, and to our donors for making this impact possible, and we're committed to continuing to help more families in the year ahead. So thank you for all that you do, and we appreciate your focus and investment on affordable housing.
Thank you. Gracie Martinez.
Good evening, Mayor Daggett, Council, and City Management Team. It is so wonderful to see you all today. My name is Gracie Martinez, and I am representing Associated Students of Northern Arizona University, also known as ASNAU, as their Vice President of Civic Affairs. I am passionate about creating community and about making sure there are opportunities for students to connect to the city of Flagstaff. ASNAU is the undergraduate student government at NAU representing the voice of the students. Our organization includes the student body president, 4 vice presidents, 15 senators, and a total of 37 student staff members who work every day to improve student life. We write resolutions and initiatives to advocate for students and enhance campus life. Right now, some of our senators are working on resolutions to continue the ice rink project in our field house and to propose giving students the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off. We would love to get more city insight on how these initiatives might impact the community, especially in terms of tourism, local businesses, and city operations. ASNAU provides a wide range of programs and resources that support students throughout their college experience. Some of these include major events like Lumberjack Concert Series and Homecoming Carnival, which is free for all students. We also offer scholarships and manage an appropriations fund where clubs can receive up to $2,000 and individual students up to $1,000 for expenses such as graduate exams, academic conferences, or professional development opportunities. Our Care Corner provides essential items like free clothing, fentanyl test strips, Narcan, Plan B, and other health and wellness supplies. And we're currently accepting pregnancy test donations and additional items to continue expanding what we offer the students. I oversee the NAU Votes Coalition in my position, and for this year's local election on November 4th, we're hosting a Puppies at the Polls event to encourage civic engagement, and this is an example of a tote bag that you can screen print yourself at our event, so please stop by. My role also focuses on connecting with NAU alumni here in Flagstaff to strengthen relationships between alumni, students, and community. We are also seeking donations to expand the resources ASNAU offers, and we'd greatly appreciate the city's support in helping us connect with potential donors and partners who share our mission. We'd love to invite City to get involved through collaboration, outreach, or shared events that connect students with local government. We're also so grateful that the city's support in helping the NAU Marching Band travel to the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. ASNAU contributed a large donation towards that effort, and it was a wonderful example of what collaboration between the city and the university can accomplish. Thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Gracie. Colleen Maring.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. My name is Colleen Maring. I'm the Chief People Officer at Northern Arizona Healthcare. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as part of our mission to improve health and heal people, we aim today to educate the community about screening and early detection, share some of the resources we offer, and introduce you to a few of our specialists. First, as I'm sure you've heard, but not everyone always follows through on, regular screening and early detection are key. The Cancer Centers of Northern Arizona recommend women 40 years and older have an annual screening mammogram and continue on a cadence at the advice of their physician. Paired with monthly self-breast exams, annual screenings are the best way to detect changes that require attention. In the unfortunate instance of a breast cancer diagnosis, NIH has a nationally accredited breast cancer program. We're proud of our team of providers, nurses, and medical assistants who work with our amazing nurse navigators, specifically focusing on breast cancer care. That navigator role is specifically designed to support patients through every step of their treatment, and patients tell us all the time that it made the difference in their treatment to have one person to go to with any question or confusion about the treatments or where to go and when and so on. We also partner in a care coordination model with City of Hope Cancer Centers to offer our patients a whole network of specialists and subspecialists who work directly with our providers to provide our patients with second opinions or further analysis of specific needs. And together, they create treatment plans with a focus on reducing travel away from home as much as possible. We're adding specialists. We continue to add specialists in breast care and a number of other cancers. And this fall, we welcome Dr. Sarah Conlin, a medical oncologist and hematologist who joined our care team here in Flagstaff. We also this year replaced the linear accelerator. That's a massive device. It's a whole room that generates radiation for the targeted treatment of cancer cells. And by replacing it on a planned schedule before it reached end of life, we minimize the impact to care in Northern Arizona. One of our major goals in cancer treatment is to keep people as close to home as possible. By replacing our linear accelerator, by partnering with the City of Hope, by hiring great doctors and Flagstaff, we're demonstrating our commitment to keep care at the highest level and keep it close to home. So please get your annual mammograms, encourage your friend and family members to do the same, and celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember House, there's a spider coming down from the light, I think. I saw him hanging out. Don't hurt him or her. It might have gone back up. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it's fine. All right, we're moving down to proclamations and recognition. And first up, we have a proclamation because this is where the city's wrapping up our campaign for the United Way. And we have a proclamation, and we also have some folks from the United Way here to speak with us. So if you would come up and meet us at the end of the dais, and council, if you would come down. So after I'm through, I'm going to ask one of you to speak. We'll also take a photo after I'm finished reading. And we've put a QR code up on the screen. Paul Mood and Joanne Keene have been hard at work hitting our goal, the city's goal. And are we getting close? All right, so we of course would love to see 100% participation from city employees and city council, and if you so choose, you can scan the QR code, those of you at home as well. All right, for almost 60 years, United Way of Northern Arizona has brought people and resources together to achieve bold goals and tackle our region's toughest challenges. Through strategic partnerships, generous donations, and the dedication of countless volunteers, United Way of Northern Arizona works to ensure that all in Coconino, Navajo, and Apache counties can thrive. Through its Step Up for Youth initiatives, United Way of Northern Arizona fosters youth opportunity, from expanding access to high-quality pre-K programs and promoting early childhood literacy to fostering the mental well-being and leadership potential of our youth. United Way of Northern Arizona builds healthy communities by providing resources so that our families have access to basic needs and services, including safe housing and adequate food. In times of emergency, United Way of Northern Arizona ensures our communities are resilient by mobilizing volunteers and distributing resources so we can respond, recover, and rebuild together. The strength, vitality, and connectiveness of Northern Arizona is enhanced by the work of United Way of Northern Arizona, demonstrating the transformative power of collective impact. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Becky Daggett, Mayor of the City of Flagstaff, Arizona, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 24th, 2025 as United is the Way Campaign Month.
Okay. Mayor Daggett and Council, I just wanted to express my gratitude. My name is Armando Reese. I serve as the current chair of the Board of Directors. And on behalf of United Way of Northern Arizona, I just want to say thank you for your continued partnership and being fierce champions for youth across Northern Arizona. So again, we appreciate all of you and the entire city for your continued support. And thank you for the proclamation today. Thank you. Thank you.
And that includes any staff that participated in the citywide energy and water conservation project. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. As this item is a recognition of efficiency, I think that really demonstrated the city's commitment to efficiency. But we're going to kick this off with just I should start with, hi, I'm Danae. I'm the Climate Manager with the Sustainability Division, and I have the pleasure of introducing this recognition item this evening. And shortly, you'll hear some exciting news from representatives from Arizona Public Service, who are recognizing the city of Flagstaff for upgrading to energy-saving LEDs across 44 city facilities. But first, I want to put this project into its broader context. Back in March of 2023, the City Council authorized a significant investment to conserve energy and water used in city operations. This project involved improving weatherization across 30 city buildings through improved weather stripping around our doorways, as well as sealing air leaks. We also deployed smart irrigation controls at 17 parks. These parks are now equipped with sensors to detect and stop leaks, and a dashboard and an app for park staff to use to monitor and adjust irrigation schedules in real time. We also replaced 179 water meters across the city and had those sent to a lab for testing, which confirmed an average accuracy of 96%. Additionally, we installed 14 electric vehicle charging stations to support the city's transition to electric vehicles. And the highlight of tonight, we retrofitted over 6,500 lights, both indoors and outdoors, to energy-saving LEDs. Not only did this improve energy efficiency, but it also advanced the city's dark sky status by bringing our non-compliant exterior fixtures into compliance with our dark sky ordinance. The lighting project will be further discussed by APS in a moment. All told, the citywide energy and water conservation project is delivering annual utility savings more than $225,000 per year. We achieved a 7.8% reduction in our energy consumption last year compared to the year prior. And this is a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from our municipal operations by roughly 730 metric tons, which is equivalent to the electricity used by 150 homes for a year. Additionally, APS is presenting today a rebate for us that just goes to show it really does pay to save energy. This project came to fruition because of the City Council's leadership and support, and it was only able to go over the finish line because of the expertise, coordination, and countless hours of collaboration and problem solving between facilities, building safety, pros, water services, management services, the City Attorney's Office, and the Sustainability Division. We've invited many of the key staff to be here with us this evening to commemorate the achievement. I will now turn it over to Tony Majors, Ryan Weissner, and Janet Dean with APS to highlight the lighting project.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. As Danae mentioned, my name's Tony Majors. I am the outreach manager for the APS Solutions for Business and Multi-Energy Efficiency Programs. I am joined today with Janet Dean, the APS Public Affairs Manager for Flagstaff, and Ryan Weisner, who is the Flagstaff Account Manager for APS. I want to just kind of touch on a few things that Danae mentioned and really want to celebrate the partnership that the City of Flagstaff and APS had working with these projects. My goal is to help educate and spread the word of the benefits of energy efficiency. And then, oh, by the way, we also have some rebates that help support those integrations. This was actually a long time conversation over a couple years of as the projects were initially approved and then discussed for the installations. Finally, after the installations were done, we were able to work together hand in hand to really assemble and submit the applications for each of those 44 sites. Danae mentioned some great numbers, and really the ultimate benefit is over the savings, but we do like to support some of these things with a few dollars in rebates. And a lot of folks don't realize that what affects you here also affects down, is affected down the valley or where the generation is completed. So the lowest cost, cleanest energy is not being utilized. So if we can find ways to reduce and not use as much, that's less that needs to be done. Cost keeps costs manageable, and then does help us save water and carbon emissions to the environment. So I brought two things for me for the City of Flagstaff. The first one I will share is the big check for almost $65,000 in rebates for those projects. So again, our goal is to really help offset costs for those, or even help promote future projects to be able to utilize these funds. And then another thing is we've also brought a certificate of sustainability achievement. This shows that those group of 44 projects are going to save over an estimated 1.4 million kilowatt hours. The great part about that is from reduced generation requirements, just from that reduction, we can account for 18 million pounds of carbon eliminated. That's equivalent to over 15,000 carbon offset for trees planted. The best part, another great part is us being a desert in Arizona, reduced generation actually is equivalent to almost 4 million gallons of water saved from what's needed. So we brought these two items for Danae and Jenny to hang on the wall in the office for everybody to see. But again, we want to thank you all for the opportunity to be able to partner with the City of Flagstaff and be able to share a great success story like this. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Council, do you have questions or comments that you'd like to make? Was that a Councilmember Garcia?
Yeah, I have a quick comment. First, this is extremely impressive. I want to give a huge heartfelt thank you to Nicole, Danae, the sustainability team, and most importantly, our partners at APS for bringing this all together. I want to mention that I am impressed by hearing all of these retrofits will help save the city 730 tons of greenhouse gases per year. These type of metrics that I, along with the greater community, are both interested and excited about hearing. It's a tangible equation for an outcome that is not always easy to see. And I'm hopeful that in the future we have more opportunities to work and partner with APS on these type of initiatives that prove that we can clean up our carbon, and we have a way to quantify that. Thank you all very much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to staff. Thank you for APS. I know that this has been it's been a major project that you've been undertaking for quite some time, and it's gratifying to see the results, and hopefully can be an inspiration to others to also implement some energy-saving measures in their own homes. So, thank you. Okay. So now,
Mayor, sorry, before you move on to the next item, can I
Yes?
just wrap something up on United Way?
Oh,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
please.
I wanted to just let the organization know that we've raised 16,000 of our 21,000 goal. We Our team includes myself, Paul Mood, Michelle McNulty, our Planning and Development Services Director, our Police Chief, Sean Connolly, Jessica Matias in the manager's office, and Heidi and her team have been amazing getting raffle prizes that we can provide to our employees. We're going to do a raffle at the end of I think it's end of this week. Paul will know. I did also want to let everybody know that if you donate over $100, there's one prize that is a framed, beautiful Slot Canyon photo that our city manager, Greg Clifton, donated. So I just wanted to plug that right now. There's a lot of great prizes, but we're ending our campaign this week, so hoping everybody can donate. So thank you for giving me time, and I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, thank you so much, and I really appreciate you sharing the names of all the people who are involved in the campaign. It's important that everybody be recognized. So we are just a little over $5,000 away, and so if each council member gave $1,000, I'm just kidding. All right. So next we have recognition of City Manager Gregory Clifton. So
Mayor, I only am referred to Gregory when I'm in serious trouble. For the record, yeah.
I'd like to bring up a few things publicly right now. How do we want to do this?
Mayor, I figured you would go ahead and start.
Okay, then I will. Yes, I will. So how we're going to do this is we have a gift for Greg, and council members are welcomed to say a few words. Then we're going to break for a short reception, and everyone is welcome to stay for the reception and share your thoughts with Greg and your appreciation, and applause is absolutely encouraged in this regard. All right. I'm going to give you the gift as I'm art directing it in my head right now. I'm going to give you the gift as we're going out for the reception. And I would like to, do we have a slideshow or something? This is where the balloons drop from the ceiling, right, Jessica? All right, so I would like to invite council members to share any thoughts that they would like to share, and then we'll break for the reception and have some snacks. Councilmember Matthews, then Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Greg, thank you so much for being the city manager my first term as city council. You know, I enjoy our one-on-ones and your patience, especially when we're new on council and we have all these big ideas and not really understanding, you know, the impacts of them. And you were very patient and guided me through a lot, so I appreciate that and your support. I know what it's like to have grandkids, so I'm excited for you in your new chapter to go be closer to them, and just appreciate all that you've done. We've accomplished a lot these last couple of years, and you have in the last 7 years. You have a great list of accomplishments to be very proud of in the city of Flagstaff, so thank you for all your work.
Greg loves this. I want everyone to know that regardless of what his facial expressions are, he loves it. Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Greg, I am so glad that we had the opportunity to connect yesterday to talk through just some of your accomplishments and say our early farewells. But one of the things that stood out to me in our conversation yesterday was I asked if the city manager had any favorite projects that he had accomplished during his tenure here at the city. And one of the things that he said, outside of listing any of those, was that he loves building things. And I think that speaks very highly to the work that he's done within our community, because not only has he built things within the community, from flood control projects to some of the carbon neutrality work that we've done, supporting the Live Black Experience project, other housing development, and so forth. I think one of the landmark contributions has been the building of such a strong team within the city of Flagstaff. That focus on succession planning, on leadership development, on supporting our Team Flagstaff in all its forms from every role within the city has truly spoken volumes to that focus. And it shows just how important that is, because right now I think we are in a position of being stronger. I don't dare to say stronger than we've ever been, because I don't know all of Flagstaff's history, but I would dare to say that we are just in a very good position with strong leadership, strong team members, strong partnerships, and just important collaborations that are seeing us forward. So I just want to say thank you for all of that work. Thank you for being a builder and a bridge builder and a connector within the community. And thank you for all that you've contributed to Flagstaff and all that you'll continue to contribute in whatever you do next.
Vice Mayor.
Thanks. I always regret having to go after Kara because she's so well-spoken. But Greg, I just want to wish you well. I know your wife and family are excited to have you back with them. And you gave voice to small businesses and to the downtown, and I just really appreciate that. I know you worked very hard. Up until probably the day you leave, you're working hard on that, among all the other things that have been said tonight. So congratulations. Thanks.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Greg, it's been quite the pleasure getting to know you. Since coming into these rooms way back in the day, I've seen, I think, 3 city managers and 3 or 4 interim city managers come and go. And I feel that at each point, they took the torch from the last one and made things better. From where you're leaving us off, it's going to be some tall shoes to fill to keep that torch burning, but I know we'll make the right choices. It's sad to see you go. You had such a quiet demeanor that steered heavy projects and lots of noise in a way that you didn't have to really put your foot down to do so, and showed strong leadership all the way through the way. You will forever be a member of our family here in Flagstaff. You will always be a leader in this community and revered and remembered for everything that you have done to make this city the best place it could possibly be. Your work on the contingencies through the pandemic was stellar and brought us to a place where we are now thriving, where some cities saw a lot more pressure. Thank you so much for being such a strong leader, such a strong guide, and such a strong teacher to me.
Councilmember Aslan.
Thank you. I'm going to try my video here. Things are a little choppy for Garcia's comments, but we'll see what we can do. Greg, just for your presence in the city. I'm just thinking about a lot of things right now. A lot of my comments I'm going to save for offline, but I do want to praise you for your unparalleled leadership ability.
Councilmember Aslan, I think you might want to turn off your camera because you're breaking up.
Okay. Well, I'll give this a try without the video on, Greg. And again, I plan to say a lot of this to you offline. But I just want to recognize your unflappability. You're very much a no drama leader. I think that's half half of what it takes to run a high functioning organization. I think I'm so grateful for the time you've had on here in Flagstaff. I think you've changed the organization. I think you've elevated the organization. You have certainly been a mentor to me, and I've learned just by just by following your lead and your example. You have taught me a great deal about leadership and about personal character. You know, I'm the only person on council who was around to hire you, and it's one of the decisions I've been involved in life, and I maintain that. I really do. I think the organization's going to be in good hands no matter what happens because of the legacy and the impact that you have and the way you've touched everybody in this organization. I just want to acknowledge real briefly some of the things that you've been through. When you came on, the museum fire was going. You also had to deal with the pipeline fire and all the post-fire flooding from both of those things. You were city manager during COVID. You were city manager during the subsequent recession and downturn. And one of the first things you did when you came onto council, when you came into the city leadership, is you initiated a plan that we ended up needing almost a year later. Just a nice example of the insight that you bring to things. Anyway, Greg, I wish you all the best in your semi-retirement. I know you're going to take a lot of great photos as you have more hours in the day with which to pursue your hobby. And I'll see you around out there.
Greg, I wish you could see the look on people's faces behind you. This room is filled with a lot of respect and affection for you. And I want to add my respect and affection for you. I agree, you were the perfect city manager to have as a new council member and then as a new mayor. You know, we're in the midst of a hiring process, and in talking to people who were part of your process, they talked about how serious you were in your interviews and how you said that you do have a sense of humor. And I think everyone has discovered that who has gotten to know you. I think you might be my 7th city manager if you count all the interims in the time that I've been involved with city politics. And you're my favorite. You're my favorite. I hope Kevin Burke isn't watching this. I think one of the outstanding things that you have helped to facilitate is such a strong culture of customer service and of really caring about the residents of Flagstaff and making sure that they receive the kind of service that they deserve in exchange for their tax and fee dollars, as well as the internal culture of people enjoying their work. I'm not here, 8 hours a day, every day, but whenever I see staff members, you seem happy and happy to be here and happy to be part of this really strong team getting some phenomenal work done. I'll never forget that you were right there beside us slinging sandbags and shoveling mud out of people's driveways. I don't know how many city managers would be doing that, but I saw you there many times, right beside us, doing that work and right beside Public Works. You understand the need, and not just the need, but you help to create the desire to include as many voices as possible. You understand how important this community is to the entire city and to the city council, and how important it is for us to include them in all decision-making, and that rubs off on all of the employees. And I know, you know, it was said that you're a builder, and I just want to assure you, because you have been such a steadfast supporter of this project and have really been instrumental in keeping it moving forward. But the Rio de Flag, I mean, even if you're in a walker, when you come back with the groundbreaking, we will have you come back. We all may be in walkers. We'll have you come back, and we'll celebrate that. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Council. If I'm in a walker, that means it's taking too much time for that project. And maybe it means some other things. Thank you for the comments. I want to just share, to bring some levity to this, which there needs to be levity right now, but you know, every Monday without failure, we go over the agendas on Monday morning, and we have our extended leadership meeting, and then our leadership meeting, Monday mornings are usually pretty busy getting ready for council meetings. Yesterday, many of us attended a funeral, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, we canceled the agenda setting meeting. And to look at the agenda tonight and see my name here, I just want to share with you that it's the first time, as long as I've been here, that I didn't look at the agenda.
That will teach you.
And my name is in it, and now this. So I know there's a lesson to be had here. I'll figure it out eventually, but no. All kidding aside, thank you for the comments. Yeah, wasn't prepared for this, but it really is heartwarming, so thank you.
Well, Council, if you'll join me down here, I would like to give Greg his gift. And I want to thank Jessica and staff for all of your work that you put into making this gift possible. And then we'll enjoy some snacks. And we'll come back in 15 minutes. Okay, we are ready to get started again. Thank you to staff for the snacks and the little reception. Next up, we have council liaison reports. I'll start with Councilmember Matthews.
I have nothing to report today, thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Nothing today, Mayor. Thanks.
Councilmember Aslan.
Same here, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Very briefly, a quick update on Mountain Line. They broke ground on the federally funded maintenance facility this month, and it's super exciting. This will support the ongoing maintenance and repair needs of the entire fleet. BPAC is having a retreat this Friday. Unfortunately, I will need to miss it due to obligations here at the city. And then NACOG is having a meeting on Thursday down in Clarkdale, and I'll be joining that online. Thank you.
Councilmember House.
Nothing for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Spence.
Nothing today.
And nothing for me. So we will move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda items are considered by the City Council to be a routine item. And unless otherwise indicated, expenditures approved by council are budgeted items. Any member of City Council or the public can ask to have an consent agenda item pulled for discussion. And I would like to exercise that right and pull item D. Are there any other items? Councilmember Spence.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to pull item G, as in gopher.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the the consent agenda items A, B, C, E, F, H, I, and that's it. And then we will discuss the other two.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Councilmember Spence, why don't you start?
Item G is approval of purchase of 3 fully outfitted police vehicles. And these vehicles are specifically internal combustion engine vehicles. They're not the hybrid vehicles that our police department has used to some extent, and they're certainly not fully electric vehicles. And I've pulled this because we have a carbon neutrality plan, the goal of which is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. It's now 2025. Are we going to make our goal? I suggest if we purchase 3 internal combustion cruiser vehicle, police vehicles in this manner, as is recommended, it is going to take us further away from the goal rather than achieving the goal. And if I may, I would like to quote from the carbon neutrality plan. This is page 83 under electric mobility. And I think this is a telling paragraph, and I'd just like to read, it's 2 sentences, I'd like to read it. We know that it matters which vehicles are electrified. By prioritizing the transition of fleet vehicles and other high-usage vehicles that drive a disproportionate number of miles, we can expect to see an outsized impact. For example, if the top 20% of vehicles by mile are electric by 2030, the reduction in fuel use and carbon emissions will be considerably larger than 20%. About 4 months ago, shortly after I came on the council was asked to approve purchase of, I think it was 4, as I recall, gasoline-powered police vehicles. And the reason given for doing gasoline instead of electric was that the electric police cruisers were not available. But I asked the sustainability staff and I asked the police department at that time, was there down payments or plans to purchase electric vehicles? In our materials submitted for today, the statement is that there's money in the budget for 8 new police vehicles in the fiscal year 2026. And these 3 vehicles would be the first of the 8. I could be persuaded to vote in favor of this resolution if someone can assure me that the next 5 vehicles that are purchased for the police department are fully electric. And furthermore, do we have a rapid charging station at the police headquarters so that an electric police cruiser can be recharged in 1 hour's time while there's a transition of the staff? So I just raise this as an example of how we're not going to meet our climate goal if we don't take affirmative action. And I would argue that we could afford to wait until we have 3 electric police vehicles available. They're on the market. They've been favorably received in cities that have deployed them. They do meet police requirements for pursuit, for low maintenance, and police comfort. So that's what I would recommend. Thank you.
Jen Brown is online and she has an answer.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I do have an answer, and I would just like to give a brief on these vehicles that we are planning to purchase. So we are hoping to purchase the fully upfitted these patrol vehicles from Olath Ford. These allow us to get critical patrol units on the road quickly and efficiently. So the company that we are working with right now, they specialize in turnkey law enforcement vehicles. So what this means is that we're able to purchase them and 90% of the upfitting is already completed. So it comes delivered to us with the the prisoner transport, the lights and sirens, and the only thing that the police department and fleet will need to do is get the graphics as well as the radio. So those have already been ordered. We have to order the graphics anyways, and we have radios on hand. Our current patrol fleet is operating with a limited number of reliable vehicles, and several of those units are due for replacement. So these 3, I feel we were able to get them quickly and have them procured and upfitted so we can get patrol vehicles out on the road to hopefully minimize any type of downtime and keep officers safe and dependable with standardized equipment. As far as the carbon neutrality plan goes, the majority of our patrol vehicles that are out on the road today are hybrid police interceptors. And so that is a way for us to go towards that carbon neutrality plan. However, right now, the police department has, I believe, 4 chargers, nothing that is a high charge or a fast charger. So the vehicles that they are used right now, they are used pretty much 24/7, what we call as hot seat cars. So you have an officer on day shift use that vehicle, and then as soon as they get off, another officer is on shift getting ready to use that car. So those vehicles sometimes are operated 24 hours. And we do have plans for the next 5 patrol vehicles to be considered. They will be a hybrid version. And just right now, I feel that the way the police department, we need to make sure that we have some more fleet in the patrol operations so that they have enough vehicles to be out on the road safely and successfully complete their tasks. And then I also just want to add that I will be coming to the council to be making a presentation in November, but we currently have 30 vehicles in our fleet that are moving towards the carbon neutrality plan that are either fully electric or they are hybrid or hybrid plug-in. So we are working towards the goal. But with the police department, really basically with public safety, it's a little bit more difficult because we need to make sure that those vehicles are available 24/7 to make sure that they can attend to any type of calls in the city.
Did you have a response to that?
Thank you, Mayor and Jen. Thank you for that overview. I would submit that a fast charger at the police headquarters would give 200 to 300 additional miles in a charging time of less than 1 hour. So while I've never driven a police vehicle, I do have an electric vehicle that charges, gets 350 mile range in under an hour at a fast charger. So that would be one way to get around the hot seat availability. But I appreciate your perspective that we need safe vehicles for our officers to be using. And I would just submit that by placing an early order for the next 5 vehicles, you might be able to get electric vehicles outfitted in the way that we like to see them. Thank you.
Yeah, and at this time, we can't really, the Fords, as far as outfitting, we're having some difficulties being able to find any other vehicles that are going to meet those needs of the police department right now. But we are working closely with sustainability on the chargers and then seeing what other vehicles are out there that are electric for the police department. And it also is important to know that some of the administration and the police aides are driving electric vehicles today.
Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, Councilmember Spence. I appreciate you pulling this item and allowing us to have more of this conversation. Jen, in reading through the briefing on this item, I noted the comments there about the urgent need to replace these 3 vehicles and the intention for the next 5 to be the Ford Hybrid Police Interceptor utility model. And I'm wondering if you can speak more about what that process looks like for getting those hybrids. I know you said that you're having a little difficulty right now. What is that difficulty, if you can just kind of quickly go over that, if that's an easy thing to do? You know, I'm not wanting you to have to go into too much detail, but I think it's helpful for us to know kind of what that challenge looks like and how you all are working to overcome that as you work towards bringing on these hybrid fleet vehicles.
Yeah, of course. As you can tell, we have approximately 50 patrol vehicles that are available at any time. However, you have to remember that those vehicles are significantly run harder than any normal vehicle out there, correct? Right? So they're going to be, again, like I said, they're run 24/7. Sometimes they never stop. So with that, we have downtime for those vehicles, or sometimes they're in the shop for a little bit longer because the engine failed or there is any type of mechanical failure. So we need to make sure that we have vehicles out on the road for the patrol officers. And that's why I felt it was really important to recommend this purchase for these 3 vehicles, because they're 90% ready to go. When we go to purchase those other 5 vehicles, we will go out for bid. We will make sure that those vehicles are hybrid, but then that will take anywhere from 2 to 4 months to obtain the vehicles. And then once we get those, we then have to go to an upfitter. And what that means, if it's in, wherever it's at, if it's in Flagstaff or it's in Phoenix, we have to get in line because we're competing with other agencies throughout the state. So DPS, Coconino County Sheriff's Department, and we're having to get in line for those vehicles to be built. And that usually takes then another 2 or 3 months. So typically, from the time that we actually purchase a vehicle and have them ready to be presented to the police department for use, it could take anywhere from 8 months to a year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving that, that broader lens on it. And I think that's an important perspective from my viewpoint on this, just to understand that the decision to make a purchase of these 3 vehicles is not made in my mind, and from what you've explained and from reading through the background here as well, without that consideration of the ultimate goal. But there is that need to balance, what the goal is for our carbon neutrality goals, and advancing that alongside the need for the urgent need to get these patrol cars out and ready for our team. So I appreciate that that insight and that background, and I think it's just an important thing to keep in mind as part of the conversation. So thank you for providing that.
You bet. And really honestly, the urgency is just to let you know that we really don't have any backup units right now. So if a vehicle does go down, we're struggling with making sure that officers have vehicles out on the road. So we're at that minimum equipment in numbers right now. So that's my urgency, is I want to make sure that an officer can get out of the police department and go to the parking lot and have a vehicle. So that's the urgency for purchasing these 3.
Thank you. Last question, apologies, Mayor. Last question would just be, in terms of that timeline that you were sharing for the hybrid vehicles, what would it look like, or is it possible to expedite that timeline at all? Or is it just a matter of that's kind of what the system looks like right now, and so that's the system that you have to work within, or what's possible there?
Yeah, I've been purchasing patrol vehicles for a really long time, and I've never been able to find a way to make it faster, except for this, right? This time I was like, whoa, this never happens. This never happened in my career. But we are working closely with procurement to change procurement and our legal team to try to find a way that we can actually purchase these beforehand and get them on the docket to be basically to be built in Detroit. So we're trying to think of some creative ways to make it a little bit faster, something I'm still trying to work on and achieve.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. Jen, I'll start with you. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but when we decide it's time to get in that line to request a new vehicle, what is the financial obligation? Do we have to pay for the cost of the entire vehicle up front, or we just have some type of notice of intent, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's we talk with the Ford dealerships or the Chevy dealerships. It really doesn't matter which make or model it is. There is a process for government ordering, and we just do a letter of intent.
Thank you. And also, just to expand on Councilmember Spence's suggestion, what is, just off the top of your head, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, but what would be the cost to install a fast charging station over at the police station?
And Danae's, I know, is in person there, but if I recall correctly, anywhere between 400,000 to 500,000.
Thank you. And then, Colin, if you don't mind coming up, I remember we had this conversation here on the dais, always talking about, being able to provide public safety. And that's our top priority. We all agreed to that, I think, a year ago when we were struggling with, do we wait a year or whatever the time frame was for all electric or hybrid or not? How Jen explained it, we don't have spare vehicles. So what would be the consequence if we have a vehicle go down for repair before we get these new vehicles in? How would that look like in our public space?
Yeah, I can speak to that. In the patrol division, we recently, sadly, we flooded a vehicle in a recent rainstorm. So it takes 10 months, as Jen said, to get a vehicle, equipped and purchased. And online, it takes about a couple minutes to lose one for a long period of time due to repairs. But currently, like our swing shift officers will be waiting for day shift officers to come in, and we build in a couple-hour overlap so those day shift officers can come in, get their reports typed to reduce overtime. But they can't come in until their shift's over, and then the swing shifts officer is actually waiting to get one of their cars to go back out because their vehicle's not ready because of our low vehicles, because I think we're allotted for 50, but we're definitely short of that.
And so that definitely is a high risk, but is there a way to staff or schedule around a overlap if a vehicle had to get recharged?
Yeah, if we were waiting on a recharge, like we're currently using, I think our police aide uses that, and they just run one 10-hour shift during the day, so it recharges overnight. And then so the next shift, and it's been successful there, and I'm excited for what the electric program has for patrol officers, but right now, I think short of every officer, and I have 94 police officers, I have 120 total sworn officers. If every single police officer didn't have their own vehicle, I think maybe we could pull off electric right now because they could take it home, charge it, and then be back for the next shift, but we're just not there with infrastructure yet. But I think, we're so dependent on those vehicles. They're running 2 shifts a day, some more than that right now. And the availability of cars that are turnkey, that's very rare. Typically we get them and they're, we're using them for travel cars for several months, waiting on them to get into the upfitter. And then by then we've already put 10,000 miles on the car. And then they get to the upfitter, and then finally it's serviceable for patrol, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions? So I will entertain a motion on item G.
Mayor, I'll move to approve item G.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief and Jen. Okay, back up. So my question on D, and this is really because I would like you to, I think it's exciting what city staff and the Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona have done here. And I'm really excited to hear about the the permanently affordable program later in the agenda. But I had a question that I asked staff yesterday about, because I didn't see any materials in here that explained why the contract went from 80,000 to 500,000. And it's a very easy answer, and I just wanted you to give it here for us all.
You got it. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. The reason why we have the initial contract is because we ran out of general funds in February. So the community has been without funds since February for down payment assistance. The other thing is that the contract that we have standing now is for 80,000 to kind of get us through a little bit. We needed a little bit of time to sort of finish up the permanent affordability program and do some more negotiations with Housing Solutions on that portion of the program. So what you're getting in the contract today is only for administrative fees to Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. That is hopefully, with your approval, going to increase from 80,000 to 500,000 to last us for the full 5 years plus two extensions, 2 one-year extensions for a total of a term of 7 years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so it's much expanded services, and it's a longer period of time.
Correct.
Because the first was just kind of to put in place a contract to get some of those dollars out the door, and this is the more permanent contract moving forward. So the 500,000 is for a 5-year contract.
5 year plus 2 potential 1-year extensions.
Okay, all right. That's it. I just wanted that shared, so thank you. Council, are there any additional questions? Yeah, and I'll entertain a motion if there are no questions.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the contract amendment as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you so much, staff. All right, routine items. 8A. This is consideration and approval of contract.
Do I have to find my slideshow? Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. My name is Justin Emmerich, and I'm a project manager here with Water Services. I'm very excited to present to you this evening this contract approval request for $13.6 million with PCL Construction for our new Lake Mary Treatment Plant Sedimentation Basins Rehabilitation Project. The Lake Mary Water Treatment Plant is located on South Lake Mary Road, just northeast of the Flagstaff Airport runway, or 4.8 miles northwest of Lower Lake Mary. The original Lake Mary Water Treatment Plant was built in 1941, and then in 1963, the addition of these two 1 million gallon sedimentation basins increased the plant's water production capacity to 8 million gallons per day. Depending on the time of year, the Lake Mary Water Treatment Plant produces the majority of the city's drinking water. In this photo, you can see some of the mechanical equipment that will be replaced as part of this rehabilitation project. These large mechanical rake assemblies are responsible for removing sediments from the lake water, and they've been in service since 1963 and will be replaced with more energy efficient rake assemblies. PCL Construction was selected through an RSOQ process as the most qualified respondent and provided this proposal for rehabilitation of the basins and replacement of the basin equipment. A concrete condition assessment earlier this year by Truesdale Corporation found many areas of degradation consistent with more than 60 years of wear and water chemistry acting on these basins. that's all I have. If I'd like to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, questions? Councilmember Spence.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that presentation. Since I'm not an engineer, I need explanation of some of the abbreviations. And the background of my question is, for $13 million, are we getting actual construction, or is this just planning for construction?
Thank you for the question. This is actually the construction. So we have already accomplished our design with Brown and Caldwell engineers, and this is for the construction. This is for the GMP #1 for this entire project.
Thank you, and I'm reassured by that. Is there a lining of the sedimentation basin, and what is the status of that?
A lining?
To keep the water from leaking out into the underground, is it a cement basin or is it plastic lined? How do you keep it from leaking?
That's a good question, thank you. This is a photograph of one of those 1 million gallon basins, and it is entirely composed of concrete. And there's a concrete coating that was also applied in 1963 that's about 4 inches thick. And that concrete liner is what you see right down here on the bottom right of this photo. And you see the reinforcing wire behind it. As the concrete fails, it breaks off in these large pieces. And that was the water sealing application of concrete as like a top coat onto this structure. And it's what's failing. So you're right, it's allowing water to leak out underneath these fractures. And you can also see some of the repair that has been done over the years as far as like the caulking and the latex there. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm just wondering, you said that these have been in operation for 60 years? How much time does this replacement or repair buy us in terms of the longevity? Is that giving us an additional 60 years? Are you expecting that this will last longer, or what does that look like?
Thank you for that. That's a good question. We're hoping that it lasts longer because we have newer technology with concrete and newer polymers that actually lend to the strength of today's concrete versus concrete back in the 1960s.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Any additional questions, council? I just put a grape in my mouth. I apologize. Yes, please.
So I'm having trouble doing math tonight, but that seems to be the contingencies on that amount of money. What is that percentage?
I think the owner's contingency is 400,000. I think that was less than 2%.
That's why I kept trying to do it, because I'm used to in construction it being more like 5 or 10%, so I kept thinking
Indeed.
it was me that was making the mistake. So is that standard for this type of project?
You know, that's a number that speaking with my supervisor, that we came up with together to sort of hopefully cover any additional items that might pop up during construction. There's also a contractor's allowance that they have factored into their GMP. So I think we have both bases covered there with anything that additional that might pop up over the course of construction.
It's very fair. I kept thinking I was hitting the wrong decimal point or something, so.
Thank you.
So thank you.
All right, council, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the CMAR construction phase services agreement.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And can I get a tour?
Yes,
It's
of
right down
course.
from my
Anytime.
house. Send me an
Please.
email.
Thank you.
All right, B, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-54 and resolution 2025-55 and ordinance number 2025-21.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. Rick Tatter, Management Service Director. I'm also here with the Park Flag Team and Economic Vitality for this. Since 2 weeks ago, we've done a lot of number crunching and discussions about our enhanced services downtown, and we want to bring you a financial update, additional information related to that, that funding of the enhanced services, because maybe something was lost in our last presentation. So we want to make some clarifications and provide additional updates of the financial plan. So since the first read, staff met internally a few times, several times, to talk about the funding sources that we want to apply to the enhanced downtown services. We recognize that not everything can be paid by park flag fees. So when you see the numbers in the presentation, that's not the full investment into enhancements downtown. We recognize that there are some things that by state law, we can't use parking revenues for certain services that are in the vast items that we're looking at for this enhanced services that we want to have delivered. So we're going to bring along with us some reallocation of BBB funds, some general funds, as well as a park flag funds to make a good full investment in enhanced services. So maybe that picture wasn't quite shared in the last meeting, but there is more than just park flag that goes into this conversation. So staff met several times over the last couple of weeks, and we looked at, can we increase that enhanced services from park flag perspective, and how can we manage this through the 5-10-year plan for the park flag rates? We were able to find some things that we reallocated and reduced within the plan to shift funds toward enhanced services. And while the initial discussion in April was $500,000 total for enhanced services, now we're looking at, with combined sources, over $700,000 toward enhanced services in our downtown on an annual basis. So it is quite a bit of an increase than what we had previous in April, as well as last week. This does still keep our funds structurally balanced for 7 years, and that's really critical to us. We know we'll do a rate study in about 5 years, and we'll determine if any adjustments are needed at that time. So just looking at a couple lines that were in the statements that I presented a couple weeks ago are highlighted here when we were talking about increased operating cost as well as the enhancements. You can see kind of how we allocated the new revenues within this plan. This is where we really took our focus over the last couple weeks and adjusted it up and down between these two lines. And I'm just giving you a high-level view of this. So the new plan, as shown here, really does ramp up the cost that we want to provide toward parking enhancements in our downtown area. So you can see the number prior, I'm going to flip back and forth here a little bit, was 267 next year. Now we're up to 443 from the park flag fees. Quite a good increase, and it is an ongoing increase. We have some inflation built in those numbers so we can maintain the program over the years. Some of the things we looked at is we are keeping our kiosks credit card upgrades into our program because we know that's the new system, the new service, the tap to pay. We know we got to upgrade those kiosks, so we did leave those things. But we did decide to delay or remove software enhancements for Park Flag for their ticketing system and so forth. We're going to delay that until we have a better time. We removed the parking lot maintenance. We'll look at one-time funds, possibly fund that over time. We reduced or adjusted our recession for contingency in the out years. We had this about 5 years out, so this does make it a little bit tighter for the Park Flag Fund, but we feel this is still manageable. And the fund stays balanced over the 7-year period. So here's the math behind this. So after doing these adjustments, we got down to a level of 65% of our rate increases will go to the Park Flag enhancements. We start with the parking rate increase, and then we take off the 20% for lockbox and 10% for credit cards. About 30% off those revenues go to known costs that we'll have. And then we're able to hit 65% toward enhanced services downtown and 35% for operation of Park Flag. This gives us an increase of almost $170,000 than what you've seen previously. And again, brings that total investment annually to over $700,000 for enhanced services. And now we are hitting about 65% after that allocation. So that was just a quick update of what you may have heard, a little more information background on how the enhancement funds kind of come together. We thought that was important for this conversation, and with that, if you have any questions, otherwise we look forward to adoption.
Thank you. City Manager.
Thanks. Rick touched on this. I might elaborate. Staff has met several times putting pencil to paper on this. And I want to give props to Rick and Dave and Gail and Heidi and any other staff members, and there's been a number of them who have had involvement in this. There's been a lot of effort underlying everything that was just presented, and I also want to give council some assurance. We also ran these numbers by our colleagues in the DBA late last week with a favorable response. So it's been very collaborative, and so I'm just very happy and grateful that staff put in such the effort to get these numbers to where they needed to be. Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a couple of questions, not necessarily pertaining to the information given today. So there'll be some questions for you, I'm sure, David. And forgive me if I missed this during our first couple of discussions. This has been a long process, and I catch some things a little later in it, I feel, at times. But I'm glad that we still have this opportunity to discuss them. My first question is, at our last discussion, I quasi-directed staff to investigate options to keep ADA-compliant parking spaces at a continued rate of $1. If it was up to me, I'd have them free, to be honest. So I was just wondering if what the status of the ADA-compliant spaces are, and if they're going to move up as well.
Thank you, Mayor, Council Member. We have a number of items that we're going to be looking at to talk about in terms of potentially a local fee reduction, potentially the $1 initially, $2 for the first half hour, $2 in the extra piece, and the ADA space conversation. To be honest, we focused really intensely on trying to get some of these numbers to the place that was just presented, and we haven't finalized that. Because those would be actually a reduction in fees, I believe they don't have the same notice requirements, so we can come back fairly quickly once we've been able to dig into that a little bit more. But at this time, we don't have that built in.
Well, thank you for that update, and I am eager to see all of those things looked at by staff and given some validity and reported back to council for sure.
Thanks, sir.
I'm also My next question would be, will the downtown enhancements be carried out by the DBA will they also include the downtown area south of the BNSF railroad tracks? And if so, how much of the south side gets attention?
Thank you for the question. The enhancements will be carried out. I believe there's a procurement underway, so we don't know exactly who's going to be carrying them out, but the enhancements will be carried out. And this was part of the arrangement with the whole conversation, is that it needs to be the commercial zones that are within the Park Flag District. So it will in fact go down San Francisco, down Beaver to Butler, and then along Phoenix and up Mike's Pike. So while it won't be necessarily in the residential areas, it will be the commercial zones both north of the tracks and south of the tracks to Butler.
So places where we would see parking meters.
Correct.
That'll be the area.
Yep.
And I really do appreciate that. We've always had that equity divide between north and south, and I think this is kind of tearing down some of those walls and showing our resilience and our putting our best foot forward to make sure that we have better equity in the area. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I think it'll make a difference in the south side for sure.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave, and I know that in meetings these things were covered, but just to restate for the public and just remind us, with these enhancements, besides kind of core services that maybe need to be shored up a little bit, what other improvements, if you will, can the public expect with these enhancements through this agreement?
So the downtown enhancements specifically?
What we're going to use this $700,000 for?
Sure. So there will be a contract that's going to come back to council. So you guys will see that scope of work specifically documented once the procurement is complete. But in general, the idea behind it is there's going to be enhanced graffiti removal, enhanced waste removal of both pet and potentially other, sadly sometimes human, down there. So those things will be able to be done quicker. Thank you very much. Rick Tatter, folks. Fantastic. Although I think I would have got there off the top of my head, but this is better regardless. So gum removal, snow and cinder removal. There are areas where even though Streets and Pros does a great job getting down there, some of the places in the corners get a little crazy, and this enhanced service will be able to get the snow and cinders out quicker, making it safer for bikers and pedestrians, and enhancing the experience for folks downtown, as well as our parkers. There's going to be a focus on alleyways and access, snow and cinder removal again during the winter, and cleaning during the summer. Graffiti removal within the rights-of-way, and specifically on our kiosks, as well as all other public features downtown. When it comes to the BBB type funds, those will be ones that have been provided by the city for the downtown using BBB before, and those tasks will be provided on to the enhanced services that way. And Greg, go ahead. Oh, and also the restrooms will be taken over by this provider, and that those services will be enhanced as well.
So,
And events. There's going to be a significant increase in events that will be assisted with this funding as well. Thank you.
so two more questions. What additional, because last I remembered, and I apologize if I missed this, initially we were talking about a projection of needing about $400,000 to $500,000 for enhancements, and which included everything you just said, as well as making everything more uniform, from trash cans to benches to flower pots and stuff. So why the increase? Was there just a readjustment to the estimated cost, or?
Mayor, council member, I believe that is the vast majority of the increase is once we actually developed the scope, because those conversations were relatively conceptual. As we developed the scope and actually started shopping what that's going to look like and what those costs would be in a community like Flagstaff, which has a higher labor cost and higher other costs as well in times, those estimated costs increased significantly.
And my last $64,000 question is, how is the deliverables going to be tracked to make sure that these enhancement to downtown, the additional fees, whoever the provider is delivering what the contract says?
As mentioned, we'll be coming back to council with a contract for those services, and the reporting out to council will be a part of that contract. Also, the scope of work will be clear, and there will be a city staff responsibility to ensure that that scope of work is being met, just as there is with all contracts that we have.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And,
Sure.
and I hope that we put in that scope of work that there's a stated reporting back to council on those deliverables. I know a lot of times we have discussions about putting in more infrastructure and that cost and stuff, and then, just kind of disappears. So I'd like to have an expectation of when we can expect them to come back and say, this is what we did this year, or every 6 months. Okay.
Thank you. We'll make sure that that's in there.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. Councilmember Matthews, you covered some of what I was going to say, so thank you. I do want to give a big shout out to staff, city leadership, DBA, the business owners, and the residents for the continued work on this. It has been a long journey, but I think worth it, and I know everyone has really put their thinking caps on and done everything possible to make this work, so thank you. I do want to point out that the hour rate has not changed since 2017. So that's 8 years. We've got rising costs, and without this change, we're not only risking our core services being enhanced, but simply being maintained in the downtown. We've heard from the businesses and the DBA. They're asking for a cleaner, safer, and more welcoming public space. And this funding will help meet that need. And we didn't develop this in isolation. We've had public meetings, we've reviewed community feedback, we've revised permit types and the fees based on what we've all heard. So thank you again for all the outreach. I do hope that, if this passes and we move forward, that we keep the public and the businesses ahead of of the rate change and where there is free parking, what hours the parking, any new lots that might be coming up or any new space that they can park in, and just keeping everyone very abreast. I have liked the social media. I've seen that outreach and appreciate it. And I think continuing to communicate with the businesses downtown will be very important moving forward. And I know I already mentioned the parking rate study coming out, and I believe now we've landed on twice a year that we'll be receiving that or not the parking rate study. What am I talking about?
Annual report.
Thank you.
We have one coming out in just a few weeks,
Thank
in
you.
fact.
And I will be looking forward to that. I know that the business owners and those of us who are really paying attention will want to review that on a regular basis. So thank you again for all of your work. And I've been very involved in these conversations. I don't have any questions because I've asked them along the way. I've attended a lot of meetings with this as the topic. So thank you again.
Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you both very much for the presentation. One of the things, Rick, that you said was being removed was the future software enhancements. And I'm just wondering what all that would have covered, because one of my questions on this overall proposal was going to be regarding how accessible and what payment options there are for the current kiosk. I actually just had a conversation with the city manager yesterday about when I was parking my own car downtown, my bank just changed card processors, and so I can't use my personal bank card because the card type isn't accepted. But what sort of enhancements would have been included? What can we expect from the kiosks moving forward to ensure that they're accessible for folks, and what sort of options might there be going forward?
Thanks, Rick. Sure. Thank you for the question, Councilmember House, Mayor. So we are currently, and I understand the app issue is happening to quite a few people when cards are changing, banks are changing, and then the app is no longer working. And we have been working on that. We're looking at like a 3% failure rate, and that number does seem to be increasing. So we are looking at adding another mobile app that's with a current contract that we have as another option, and that will actually not cost any money. So that's just an add-on from a current vendor that we have. So we're working through the amendment on that, and hopefully we'll see that soon. The credit card machine, those, as Rick was saying, those will be changed out. We did save money for that just because the strips on the back of the bank cards are going away. So that does need to happen. So the tap to pay is going to be so much easier. I don't know if you've ever used a kiosk. Sometimes it's hard to get your card in and out of the card reader. But some of the other things that we are looking at just involved new technology. We were looking at like a spot blocking type of software that if you come downtown, you can open up an app. And it doesn't really block a spot, but you can open up an app and you can look and see where the open and available parking spaces are, so you don't necessarily have to drive around in circles looking for a free and available, or we could put free on there as well, but available parking space. So we were looking at that type of technology, but like I said, we can put it on hold. I am working with a vendor. I've been in conversations with a vendor who provides that. So that's something that we'd be putting on hold. Other than that, anything that can come along, we are looking into. We're going to a conference next week to help people pay downtown, to help people find parking downtown, because there are quite a few issues with the app that we're seeing, and just to make it more convenient for our parkers downtown. So that's basically it wasn't anything other than the one that I had just mentioned, nothing specific. We just wanted to have something in the budget that we could possibly bring new technology online to help the parker downtown. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My next is more of a comment, kind of along with some of what Councilmember Matthews shared. Appreciate that insight on the expanded, information and tracking of where enhancements are happening, how revenue is being used. I think it's really important in this conversation that there is some sort of, whether it's a dashboard or a roadmap of how those things are happening. A lot of the conversation that I've been hearing in the community about this is just wanting that clarity of where these funds are going and how these enhancements are happening, what all is being expanded, where are new parking opportunities being made or expanded, and how are those anticipated changes being met within the community. So I think that's something that's really important to consider, how we can share that more openly and accessibly with the community. And the last thing for me is, I'm losing it. In terms of the enhancements that are happening downtown, I'm wondering how many of those are focused not only on parking of vehicles, but also on, it stood out to me when you mentioned the clearing of cinders and things during snow season. And I'm just thinking of what's happened recently with the walkable First Fridays and those sorts of events. Is anything being done to expand on walkability and accessibility of downtown to pedestrians as part of all of this?
So that's a two-part answer. One is, you know, if you remove the cinders and remove snow, the intention is to create a better walking experience in the downtown. And a lot of the aesthetic enhancements that we do also do that. But when it comes to more, I think the significant infrastructure that you're speaking about, the only reason I went there is because in downtown conferences, we're often told you got to make sure it's clean and pretty, and then people will walk. But we know people already walk, that want to walk downtown. We have had a lot of internal conversations recently with a lot of momentum around more infrastructure for potentially making it streamlined to do road closures in the downtown that would reduce the amount of cost and time that was required in managing that. That is not necessarily a part of this particular scope of services. That would be a separate item, but there has been some really good conversation around ways to do that in the downtown that could enhance that pedestrian walkability in an ongoing fashion by putting the proper infrastructure in to make it easier, so it's not constantly going back to a contractor to put out red cones. It'll make it safer, it'll make it more efficient, cheaper if we can go down this road. I know there's research being done right now in costing out some of that equipment, and I'm sure those conversations will come before you at some point in the future. So while it's not part of this specific scope of services to add that infrastructure, those conversations are happening, and I know the funding will be a part of those at some point too. And we do hope that a better pedestrian experience is provided through the cleansing and removal of the snow and the cinders as well. Is that helpful?
It is. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager.
Yeah, thank you. Responding to Councilmember Matthews and Councilmember House on the topic of tracking and monitoring this, and I think it's of interest to all of us. I just want to give some assurance here. The city has a seat at the Downtown Business Alliance meetings, so there's direct connectivity with the downtown business community. And I know that this project, because it's a new project, this is a new way of doing things, it will be scrutinized and reported on regularly, and we'll be at the table. We also have business representation on the dais. I know that is now and not necessarily in perpetuity, but it's important that we do have that representation amongst us. So we have a business owner, Vice Mayor, she's active with the DBA, the city management is active with the DBA. We have this direct link, and then there'll be reportings coming back to the council on this. So there's some unknown in this, but you know, we so much want to set this up for success, and I think good monitoring is going to be a measure of that. Thank you.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a bit of more of an anecdotal comment, and I want to assure the public that I reflect on all of the emails that were given to us. Much like Vice Mayor mentioned, we got a lot of good input from downtown businesses that really wanted and supported this program. But I also heard the comments from folks that were longtime residents that were a little upset about this. And I want to remind the public and remind myself as well. I live in the Sunnyside neighborhood, and that's an area about 1 square mile where there's estimated about 8,000 people. Very dense area. There's about 8 bus stops in that area. When I ride the bus from my front door to the front door of the city hall, I can get here in 22 minutes. And in the process, I get to go to our new downtown connection center, witness all the art that's inside, sometimes stop off there because they have really nice clean bathrooms, and that's important to me. And kind of enjoy my route to City Hall in 22 minutes, which is only about 4 minutes slower than when I drive here through traffic, even when there's not much traffic. So for the same, a little bit over the price of 1 hour of parking, I'd like to encourage the public that hasn't taken that step to take the public bus system and that has access to it like I do, close access to it, easy access to it, to the cost of just a little over an hour. You get a round trip ticket, and while you're out, maybe for an event, enjoying yourself, if you have a couple of drinks, you don't have to worry about driving home, and you get to experience your community in a different kind of way. Every time I get on that bus, I meet a new person. It kind of changes how I'm feeling when I leave the house, usually for a positive and a good way. And I offer that to the community that is having some angst with this. Stepping outside of my comfort zone taught me that by riding the bus and understanding that I wasn't really wasting any more time than when I was driving, and I was getting something positive out of it. And then I guess for the parking department, I don't know how necessary this function is, but I know that in Durango, Colorado, I recently went up there for a motorcycle rally, and near the bike racks, they have motorcycle parking as well. So that might be, I don't know if I don't understand the whole concept behind what parks where and how you guys do it, but you could fit 4 motorcycles in 1 parking space for a car. So something to look forward and think about as you're planning in the future. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep this quick. Vice Mayor, thank you for bringing up the annual report. I forgot to mention that, and that is really important for us to be on top of that. And, we have heard from our community both pros and cons, and sometimes we forget that our private lots charge, I think, about $4.50. Last year during an event by the Orpheum, I got booted parking in a place that I didn't realize. So, and I hear a lot about parking management. When I'm downtown and I'm paying for parking, I watch my watch. We all complain about not finding a parking space, and so it does help with that parking management to get people to not linger or leave their car where they go off and do other things. I'm excited about, I visited a good friend of mine in Coeur d'Alene a few years ago, and I was just really shockingly surprised at how pristine it was and just the enhancements. And so I'm excited for that vision here. We have a beautiful downtown, but there was a distinct difference, and I expect that we'll see that in the coming years. And I like the enhancements because for our people that have mobility issues, when there's snow piled up and there's cinders on the sidewalk, it makes it more challenging for people that have mobility issues to get around and be able to enjoy downtown. And so I really look forward to what to expect out of this new agreement. And I know it's taken months, if not maybe over a year, to work out all the kinks. So I just applaud everybody that was involved in it. And I know it's hard. I was adamantly against parking paying for parking when it first came out. But I'm a convert and I see the value of it. And I really appreciate all the work and thoughtfulness for our community, our business community, and our public in this. So, thank you.
Vice Mayor, I believe you want to make a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I move that we adopt resolution number 2025-54.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2025-55.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
I move that we read ordinance number 2025-21 by title only for the final time.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
City Clerk?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Flagstaff amending the Flagstaff City Code, Title III Business Regulations to establish parking and permit fees for the Park Flag District and Title IX Traffic to update provisions related to the Comprehensive Parking Management Program and duties of the Office of the Parking Manager by adopting by reference that certain document entitled 2025 Park Flag Code Amendments, providing for penalties, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, authority for clerical corrections, and establishing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2025-21.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are moving down to C, consideration and approval of contract.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of council, Trevor Henry, the Capital Improvements Engineer. Before we get started on this item, I wanted to introduce to you Mr. Ben Markert. He is a senior lead project manager. He's just started 3 weeks ago, and he is with Capital Improvements, so I wanted to introduce him and let him say a few words.
Hello, Mayor, council members. I'm happy to be a part of Team Flagstaff. Good to see you.
So Ben now is officially the new guy. Also, Ben will be working on a lot of the Butler projects, so Butler 4th, and this particular project. So I gave him a little bit of a reprieve since he only started 3 weeks ago, that I would do this presentation and then we will kick it off and he will lead us.
And Ben, just so you know, this is my favorite project, so make sure it goes smoothly.
Certainly. Awesome. Thanks, Ben. All right, so this item tonight is for the award of an engineering services contract. And before we dive into the details, I just wanted to go over a little bit of the project itself. We've seen this before and just wanted to refresh memories and give the public who's viewing a chance to see this. So the project itself is in the yellow, the project limits. It's Butler Avenue from Milton down to Sawmill, just a little bit to the east of there. And it's going to be from right-of-way to right-of-way. And the pictures below show what a protected intersection will look like. So we have 3 intersections. We have Beaver, San Francisco, and Sawmill. So these intersections will be improved, retrofitted. There will be these little areas that the pedestrians and bicyclists can be safe from the vehicles as they move through. So we will have those improvements there. We will also have crossings. We will have a new crossing, which will be for pedestrians and possibly bicyclists. They can come up, push the button, and then cross the street safely. And there will be a new one here at O'Leary. And then we will upgrade an existing one at Humphreys. So that'll be there. So essentially, we have the complete streets, we have protected intersections, we have bike lanes, elevated bike lanes, and that is what this project is. So again, we have for your consideration and approval this afternoon is a professional engineering services agreement contract with WSP USA Incorporated for about $359,000. And staff is recommending approval of this contract in that amount and to authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents. A little bit of background on this project. So in November of 2018, we had Proposition 419, which is what we are referring to now as the new tax, and that was passed. It was basically a continuation of a sales tax starting from 2020 and going for another 20 years. And then what we did in 2021 is we had a pilot project, which was the separated bike lanes. So this was on Butler Avenue. If you remember, we had the little curb bumpers that separated bicyclists from the vehicles, and that was phase 1. We did phase 2, which was San Francisco Street and Beaver Street. So we had these pilot project that we undertook, and the whole intent there was just to get information, see what works, see what doesn't work, and what we can do to make it better. And then in November of 2022, we had the AT&P, which is the Active Transportation Master Plan, that was approved and adopted by council. And then the project itself in December of 2023 applied and was awarded a Safe Streets for All grant in the amount of $9.6 million. And that will go towards the construction of the project, and that was through the Federal Highway Administration. And then in April of 2024, we completed a feasibility study project. And that was basically this entire corridor, everything that you saw there. And we just gathered information. We did 15% concept plans, and we did a high-level cost estimate. And then in August of 2024, we applied and were approved for an AZ Smart Fund Grant. And I believe that amount was about $2.3 million, $2.4 million. And again, that goes toward the project. And so these two grant amounts will go towards whatever city funding was appropriated through 419, the new tax. And then earlier this summer, we had a request for statement of qualifications for the design services, and that's why we're here to eventually approve a services contract. Here's a picture of what our proposed cross-section will look like. And again, we have 2 lanes in each direction. We will have a center turn lane or a median. And then on the edges, we'll have a 2-foot curb and gutter, and then we will have a parkway and a bike lane and a sidewalk. So the bike lane and the sidewalk will be elevated. It will be elevated and separated from the vehicle travel lanes by the parkway. And down here is a plan view of the project itself. And in some areas, you can kind of see where there is no parkway because we have an existing infrastructure, an existing corridor that we have to work with. And then in other areas, we have a healthy parkway. So again, we're able to make that work. But essentially, the bike lane and the sidewalk is elevated and separated from the vehicles. We do have a few areas where we have to address driveways, so that's part of the project. And then over here, just west of Beaver Street, we have a median. And then here, east of Beaver Street, we have the turn lane. So that's kind of how it's all going to work together. But essentially, this is what the project is. Another item to look at, and this is a plan view of Lone Tree Road. So currently, that is under construction, and they are building a protected intersection there for that particular project. And then our Butler Avenue Complete Streets project will come through, stop, overlap, and then continue on. So that is kind of the coordination going on there between the 2 projects for this corridor. And again, just some considerations, just verbalizing what we have here is we have the elevated bike lanes, sidewalks, we have parkways between these 2 corridors or these 2 infrastructure items. We have protected intersections at these major intersections with Butler Avenue. And then we have the crossings as well. So all of that will be incorporated into this project. So upon award of this engineering services contract, we will begin a few efforts. Right now, we will start on the environmental services portion, which will support the grant that we had to receive. The Safe Streets for All grant has conditions that we have to meet, and that is all environmental driven. We will also confirm some of the potential impacts and the footprints that we need to get clearances on. And again, the NEPA documentation, the National Environmental Protection Act documents that are all part of the grant conditions that we have to satisfy before we can actually continue to move further into the design. And then we'll end up with a 30% concept design, and we'll bring that before council, we'll bring that before project updates to just give you a look at what we are doing. And as always, we'll have public and stakeholder meetings, we'll have that coordination, getting the word out, making sure what we're doing is being viewed and looked at by the public, by the citizens. A little bit of milestones here on the right side on the top. So right now we are under that phase 1, which we are calling the environmental documentation and the 30% design concept. And that'll run to about March of next year. And then we will be before you to bring the final version of the design, or the final phase of the design, phase 2, which will go from about 30% to final. And we will do that with a contract modification, which will be a change order. So you will see us, I'm going to guess maybe the early parts of the spring, maybe the early parts of summer, will be before you with this contract modification to complete the design. And then one other little milestone we wanted to mention is we are working currently with the Federal Highway Administration on the procurement of how we're going to deliver this construction project. So right now, the grant conditions talk about a price component, and that kind of factors into the traditional design bid build, which is the lowest responsible bidder. What we like to do on these bigger projects is qualifications based, which is eventually the construction manager at risk. So we have been in discussion with FHWA to give us authorization to move towards that CMAR, procurement delivery. And with the government shutdown, it's been a little difficult to try to figure out and stay in contact with them and work through this, but we are working through that effort, talking with them and making sure they will understand what we're looking for this project to help us deliver. And that typically will be at a 60% design level when we will get the CMAR on board. And right now, I'm anticipating the schedule to be about next fall when we will be at 60% design level. So eventually, council will see a contract about that time. Should we get approval for a CMAR, you'll see us presenting that through an RSOQ effort, request for statements of qualifications. So our project schedule is design the rest of this year and most of next year. And then some construction packages you'll see maybe the first part of 2027, and then we should wrap up construction at the end of calendar year 2028. And with that, take any questions.
Yeah, I have a quick question about the requirement from the Federal Highway Administration. Is that a new requirement, or is that just routine what they typically ask for?
Your Honor, thank you for the question. So yes, we did speak with FHWA, the representative, and we did ask the same question. It's our understanding that that has always been part of their grant conditions, that a price component be part of the selection for the construction. And there is another section within their guidelines that do allow for a change in the procurement process. It's just we have to work through that process, and that's what we're working towards.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Spence.
Thank you, Mayor. Trevor, if you could review for us the coordination between the Butler Street project and the Lone Tree overpass. What's the time frame for the Lone Tree overpass project, and how does that coordinate with the construction phase of Butler?
Your Honor, Councilmember Spence, thank you for the question. So the Lone Tree project is currently under construction. So everything you see kind of in the dotted lines is what's being constructed currently. So maybe jumping a little bit from this project to that project. They have completed all the paving on the north side of Butler. So that's basically the westbound lane. And right now they are done for this season. Winter's approaching, so they have moved out. They still have crews here available should something come up that needs to be addressed maintenance-wise. But they plan to be back next spring to continue their construction. So they'll come back and start on the south side of Butler, and then everything will be, traffic will be on the north side. So basically it's flopping what we saw this past summer. So that's Lone Tree. And they will continue on and be finished, I'm gonna say in about a year with Butler and South Butler, or South Lone Tree, sorry. And then eventually they'll start moving north, taking care of some of the overpass, some of the railroad track lowering, the bridge structure itself, and then finally the intersection at Route 66 and Lone Tree. So all of that will happen, I am going to say high level, in the next 2 to 3 years. Butler Complete Streets, if we get everything completed design-wise and we start construction in 2027, we will be able to move through here, and then all this work for Lone Tree will be complete, and then we just stop, jump over, and keep going. So that is a little bit of the high-level coordination that is going on.
Thank you. I'm impressed that you've thought this all through, and it's going to be exciting to see these two projects come together. Thank you.
Council, any other questions? I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the A-E professional services contract with WSP USA Inc. in the amount of $358,599.56 for the Butler Avenue Complete Streets Improvement Project Phase 1 Environmental Clearance, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ben. I know, it would be. Hopefully Adam Shimoni is watching. All right, so D, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-52 and ordinance number 2025-20.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm Dave Millis, Development Engineer. Back in front of you for the second time, talk about the updates for the engineering standards to incorporate micro-trenching. We don't have a new presentation. I have our old one available and also available for any further questions you may have.
I have a question, actually, and I briefly read the response to it that Paul Mood sent. We received a letter with a concern about micro-trenching in a area with freeze and thaw, and it was covered in our presentation, but I just wanted to allow you to publicly give the response that Paul gave us.
Yeah, so we have, with any project or construction type, we're always concerned with the freeze thaw. It's something we're aware of. In this particular, and on top of that, we have reached out and done some due diligence research with other peer communities, not only in Arizona, which obviously there's not too many other mountain locations, but in Utah, the city engineer, Paul Mood, had some discussions with municipality that has been doing this and has so far not seen any negative effects from it. I think from a freeze-thaw standpoint, you should kind of see micro-trenching by its nature in a municipal environment is going to cross a large number of services. You know, when you think about it, a residential street, there's water. Water in particular is the one that always needs to go below frost depth because you don't want the water to freeze. So the degree to which someone were to try to increase the depth of a micro-trenching standard to below frost depth, you can kind of see that it's almost a poison pill for the whole concept of micro-trenching, because now you're creating conflicts at every single service crossing. And so the shallowness of that entire kind of technology or construction method is integral to it. In a residential or even commercial, in a municipal setting. You could go deeper, say on I-17, which I think they did, because in those aspects, they don't have to worry about the utility crossings. You know, so from a freeze-thaw standpoint, we really focus on the flowable fill that they put back in to make sure that when it's put in, it's not in a freezing condition, because that is very bad for the material. And then just they need to make sure that the sealant that goes on top that's in our specification is applied at the appropriate temperature. So most of our focus is on the time when the construction is occurring. I think the concerns that we heard from that comment were more related to the ultimate condition, and our staff have evaluated that and don't find it significantly different than our current standards, which allow for utilities, dry utilities, to be placed shallower than our frost depth.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
I have a quick question about that sealant that you talk about. I'm assuming, of course, that I know the answer, but I wanted to make sure and make it clear. As a cyclist and a motorcyclist, we call those road snakes, because when they're not put in correctly, they make you wiggle around like a snake on top of them. Are those perpendicular, or I don't know if it's vertical, I guess. Is it vertical? Parallel lines with traffic. Are those level with the road surface?
They are, I think our spec is at within 1/8 of an inch, Robert, within 1/8 of an inch, but I could pull up for you from my previous presentation kind of where we would, let me start the slideshow here from the beginning.
Thank you for going this step to answer this question.
Oh, for sure. So as you can see my screen, yeah, on this is the primary location where our standards would have that joint for many reasons. One of them is, as you've identified, you know, our engineering standards already require that when we cut through a bike lane, that it needs to be perpendicular. We don't allow cuts, say halfway right in the middle of the bike lane for that very reason. So our primary location is there at the joint between the curb and the asphalt. And then this is kind of what that sealant looks like when it's going down. And you can see in cross-section here, this is what we have specified as our primary location. So there's already a joint there now. It's where the asphalt meets the concrete at the curb. We've allowed for this secondary location, and it's kind of go off into the engineering notes weeds, but it says 2 feet unless noted otherwise. And one of the noted otherwises is that when there's a bike lane, we have detailed such that the edge of this sealant would be just to the outside of the bike lane stripe, because the paint for that stripe will not stick as well to the sealant as it would to the asphalt. So if they go to secondary condition where a bike lane exists, then it would be located just outside of that.
I really appreciate that. So it's what you're saying is it's a seam that's seemingly seamless.
Yes, I don't think I can say that as well, but yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for that question, not so much for the joke afterwards, but I do appreciate that question. Any additional questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Got to make sure I got the right one. Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 2025-52.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next.
Mayor, I move that we read ordinance number 2025-20 by title only for the final time.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Flagstaff amending the Flagstaff City Code Title 13, Engineering Design Standards and Specifications for New Infrastructure by adopting by reference that certain document entitled 2025 Amendments to Flagstaff City Code Title 13, Engineering Design Standards and Specifications for New Infrastructure, providing for penalties, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 2025-20.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any- Any opposed? All right. Wow, that was, they've already left. Thank you. All right, so regular agenda. 9A, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-59.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tamara Lawless, Water Conservation Program Manager. I have two back-to-back IGAs for you tonight that are pretty routine. The first of which is an IGA with the University of Arizona for work that we do with Project WET. Project WET is a nationwide organization that does water education with kids. Most states have a chapter, and then often individual water utilities will partner with Project WET. One thing they often do is a annual fourth grade water festival, so most of the town's fourth graders get to come to the festival and learn about water. Fun event for the kids. And then we also partner with them on kind of like routine school visits, water education. And so 5 years ago in 2020, we signed this IGA for like our first 5-year term, and then we said we could renew it for another 5 years. So this is that renewal for that agreement, and then there's a very minor amendment in the billing procedures to make things a little bit more streamlined for them. So let me know if you have any questions on that one.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we read resolution number 2025-59 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? City Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council approving an intergovernmental agreement between University of Arizona and the City of Flagstaff for water education through Arizona Project WET.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2025-59.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Now B.
Yes, so the second one, so we provide routine water audits for commercial customers and residential customers. And maybe a year and a half or so ago, we met with the sustainability team at NAU and said, hey, you haven't really been making use of these audits. Do you want us to come and audit some of your buildings? And they said, yeah, let's get going, let's try it. And so we started showing up once a week and saying, what do you want us to look at? And we've been doing retrofits of faucets, shower heads, just all kinds of things as we come across them. And over time, someone said, you know what, why don't we just formalize this in an IGA since we've been doing so much routine work at NAU? So this is a formalization of that agreement that we are doing, like essentially a routine check of all their buildings, doing these minor retrofits as we come across them, and then as we come across more major repairs that are needed, we provide like a report that says, okay, you have this many leaky faucets or toilets that need retrofitting, and they can take care of those on their own time. Thanks.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. I know with the water audits, I've experienced them myself. They're great, very impressive. Am I to understand that retrofitting, normal routine stuff, we're providing that, or are they?
Yes, so we have, as part of our water conservation strategic plan, we have an annual budget in which we invest in all of these kind of smaller fixtures like aerators and shower heads and provide those free to the public at zero cost. So all of those we are providing. And then, like I said, those more expensive items like a toilet retrofit, they would be taking on themselves.
Do you have any idea how much that is to do the retrofitting at NAU?
Yeah, so I think we estimated that last year we spent around $8,000 on aerators and shower heads that we were replacing. We did so many retrofits.
I can see why they're anxious for us to keep doing this.
Yes. I think we estimate that we'll finish with all of their buildings by the end of 2026. So hopefully at that point, they won't need quite as many fixtures to be replaced.
I have a question about, is there any education for students that comes along with this, or is there any educational component of the program that comes along for NAU administration or for the students? I mean, I'm sure that there's education when you find out about all of the problems that you have with your current system, but I'm wondering if there's anything in addition to that.
Yeah, I would. So the sustainability team at NAU takes care of those efforts. I know in the past they had what was called, I want to say it was called like a water energy mentor program where someone from the dormitory was trained to, encourage shorter showers and things like that. And then they would spread that word to the rest of the students. I think it would actually be beneficial to maybe bring Avi Hen from their team to just kind of go over what kind of their current education efforts are with those students, because that program, existed about 10 years ago, and I don't know if it is still continuing. So I think that's a good piece of feedback, that it would be kind of good to hear about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, and thank you for this information. I'm wondering if NAU is held accountable for the items that are more complex, like the running toilet. Do you go back and check to see if they've rectified that issue, or do you tell them and you just hope that they do it and that's that?
Yeah, so far we've just been submitting the reports, but that might be a good thing to add to our annual check-ins as we go through which buildings are finished, to just hear whether or not those longer term items are being addressed. I can make sure that we ask.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we read resolution number 2025-60 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? City
Aye.
Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council approving an intergovernmental agreement between Northern Arizona University and the City of Flagstaff for routine water fixture audits and retrofit.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, City Clerk, that you captured that was 6 in support and 1 against.
Oh, I apologize. Councilmember Aslan was opposed, is that what Councilmember Matthews was
No.
opposed? Thank you for that clarification.
And if I can just clarify,
Please.
I see the full benefit of these audits and stuff. I just don't feel that we should be, even though it seems seemingly a small amount, that we should be expending, $8,000, $10,000 to help NAU. So I'm not in support of that. Support of the idea,
Okay, I'm looking for a motion on number 3 of B.
I move, Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 2025-60.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have that. Thank you very much. All right, we're down to C, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-57.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council again. I don't think I even introduced myself earlier. I'm Adriana Fisher, Housing Program Manager with the Housing Office, and I'm here today to speak with you about the CHAP, Community Homebuyer Assistance Program, and the bond-funded expansion. So today, hopefully I can make it quick for you all. We'll start with a brief background on Proposition 442 in the CHAP program. We will walk through the CHAP expansion timeline. After that, I'll provide a quick snapshot of our housing market, followed by an overview of 2 CHAP options designed for first-time homebuyers in Flagstaff. The first one is the Home Purchase Assistance Program, which is the money, and a proposed permanent affordability pilot. We'll conclude with a request for your approval of the program parameters and the associated resolution, as well as the permanent affordability pilot. Right. As you will recall, in November of 2022, Flagstaff voters approved a $20 million bond to support rental and homeownership opportunities for Flagstaff residents. Of that $20 million, $7 million was allocated to expanding the Homebuyer Assistance Program. CHAP was designed to help Flagstaff residents on their journey to homeownership by offering both education and financial support. Specifically, it provides a one-time, non-forgivable loan to eligible households who are financially ready to take on a mortgage but need assistance with upfront costs such as down payment and closing funds. Established in 1998 to serve middle-income households, CHAP has evolved to meet the changing needs of our community and adapt to the shifting housing market. Until recently, CHAP was funded through the city's general fund. I mentioned that a little bit earlier, requiring an annual budget approval to secure the resources. This version of the program was fully depleted by February of 2025. In response to council direction in October of 2024, staff launched a bond-funded version of CHAP in August, following a competitive procurement process that selected Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona, who is also here to help answer any questions, to administer the program. This new funding source provides greater sustainability and expands the program's reach. One of CHAP's defining features is its revolving loan model. Because loans are never forgiven, repaid funds return to a dedicated special revenue account so that we can reuse those funds for future first-time homebuyers. All right, a quick snapshot of the CHAP expansion timeline. Between March and June 2025, a request for statement of qualifications, otherwise known as an RSOQ, was drafted, finalized, and published. Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona was selected as the program administrator through that competitive process. In June and July, we moved into contract creation and execution under a limited professional services contract. The limited bond-funded program went live in August of 2025. And finally, in September, the Housing Commission reviewed the proposed program changes and the permanent affordability pilot and decided to unanimously forward the changes and pilot to you, Council, for consideration with a recommendation for approval. These numbers may look familiar to you from last month's presentation on the 10-year housing plan. I'm bringing them back because understanding current market conditions is critical to shaping effective housing policy. This slide reflects data from July. Cost of living in Flagstaff was a little over 21% above the national average, and housing costs were nearly 52% higher. The median home price across all property types was about $685,000, and for single-family homes, it was $787,000. Homes were averaging 49 days on the market in July, with only 25% of listings under $500,000, with most priced between $500,000 and $900,000. Now for a quick October update. Cost of living and housing cost percentages haven't changed. The median price across all property types is now $712,000. Days on the market remain high, so 67 days year to date, largely due to it not being prime selling season and buyers waiting for better rates to come. Housing stock and needs are unchanged, but interest rates have begun to come down, slightly improving affordability. Affordability remains a major barrier to homeownership, especially without dual incomes, financial assistance, or family support. This one will also look familiar to you. I brought that last month as well. It shows two examples of what monthly housing payments look like based on the typical home prices as of July and a 45% debt to income ratio. Let's start with condominiums, one of the most affordable ownership options in our community. In July, with a median price of $345,000, a 3% down payment, and an interest a little higher than 7%, the monthly payment was just over $3,000 per month, requiring an income between $82,000 and $95,000. In October, I'm happy to report that rates have dipped to 6.5%, bringing the estimated monthly payment to about $2,609 and the income needed to $72,000 to $88,000. Now for the touchy subject, single-family homes are the most expensive housing type still in our community. In July, with a median price of $787,000, a 3% down payment, and an interest rate a little under 7%, the monthly payment was just over $6,100 per month, requiring an income of $165,000 and $177,000. As of October, rates again have eased half a percentage point for this specific home type to 6.375%, lowering the payment to about $5,255, nearly $850 less than in July, just a few months later. The income needed now to buy a single-family home is $142,000 to $166,000. So while the slide reflects July conditions, the overall takeaway hasn't changed. Even with small improvements in interest rates, home ownership remains out of reach for many Flagstaff residents. So now for the fun part. As mentioned earlier, housing staff intends to offer two distinct options for first-time home buyers in Flagstaff under one CHAP umbrella. The first focuses on upfront home purchase costs, so the money, helping eligible buyers pay for expenses like down payment and closing costs. The second is a permanent affordability pilot designed to create long-term housing stability by converting market rate homes into permanently affordable units in exchange for deeper assistance. It's important to note that first-time home buyers cannot use both simultaneously. They must choose the option that best fits their needs. Let's take a closer look. All right. The CHAP program has a set of eligibility requirements designed to ensure that assistance reaches those who need it the most and are rooted in the community. For option one, which is upfront home purchase assistance, homebuyers must meet the following criteria. They must be a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. They must have lived or worked within Flagstaff Metropolitan Planning Organization, otherwise known as FMPO, boundary for at least 1 year. They must have not owned a home within the FMPO area in the past 3 years. They must occupy the home as their primary residence. They must have a household income at or below 150% of the area median income, currently just over 152,000 for a household of 3, and maintain a debt to income ratio at or below 45%. Though staff is proposing flexibility to allow the DTI to go up to 50% on a case-by-case basis with city approval. As shown on the map, the FMPO boundary covers 525 square miles extending from Belmont to Winona and from the San Francisco Peaks south to Kachina Village and Mountain Air. In addition to the homebuyer eligibility requirements, the property must also meet certain criteria to qualify for CHAP assistance. First, the home must be located within Flagstaff city limits. Eligible property types include those on the screen, and manufactured homes must be permanently affixed to the land. The home must be financed with a 30-year loan at a competitive interest rate, and the loan must be below the jumbo limit, which is currently $806,500. The property must be livable and meet both lender occupancy and purchase guidelines. And while a home inspection is strongly recommended, it is not required since buyers will sign a hold harmless agreement. Lastly, the housing ratio, which is the percentage of gross income spent on housing, must not exceed 35%. Staff are proposing a small change here to introduce a housing range of 30 to 35%. This added flexibility will help staff and program administrators better assess household need. CHAP offers up to $50,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance based on a 10-to-1 matching ratio. That means if a buyer contributes $5,000, then they're eligible to receive the full $50,000 loan. Currently, the minimum buyer contribution is $1,000. However, staff recommend increasing it to $2,500 to ensure that buyers have a greater financial stake in the home purchase. This can help foster long-term commitment and more successful outcomes in home ownership. Right, once a home is purchased with CHAP assistance, repayment is not required immediately. Instead, a repayment is triggered if the buyer either sells the home, they move out and no longer uses the home as a primary residence, or they refinance the home for cash out. When repayment is triggered, it's calculated using a shared appreciation formula based on the percentage of CHAP assistance provided at the time of purchase. One key exception is if the home is already part of the permanent affordability program, so it's a permanent home, permanent affordable home, which already includes its own resale restrictions, CHAP's shared appreciation requirement does not apply. Here's an example. A buyer purchases a home for $500,000. They receive $50,000 in CHAP assistance, which is 10% of the purchase price. Years later, they sell the home for $550,000. Since CHAP covered 10% of the original purchase, the repayment would be 10% of $550,000, which is $55,000. That's 5% more than the original loan amount. To encourage early repayment, staff are recommending a new benefit to this. If the loan is repaid within the first 7 years, the shared appreciation portion is half. Using the same example, instead of repaying $55,000, the buyer would repay $52,500. All right, now let's move on to option 2 of the program, the Permanent Affordability Pilot. It offers deeper assistance than the down payment version of this program. First and foremost, the goal of this pilot is simple. It's to help local residents purchase a home that they can afford in a neighborhood of their choice while also growing Flagstaff's stock of permanently affordable homes. As we've discussed, single-family homes are increasingly out of reach for many working households. Take the home pictured here in the NoHo neighborhood, recently listed for $475,000. While that price may seem relatively low for Flagstaff, it still equates to a monthly housing cost of over $3,000 per month, well beyond what many local families can afford. This pilot aims to change that. Here's how it works. Households earning up to 125% of the area median income, or about 127,000 for a household of 3, would be eligible. The maximum home price under the program would be $600,000. The city would provide up to 30% of the purchase price, that's up to $180,000 on a $600,000 home. And in exchange, the home is permanently deed restricted to remain affordable for future buyers. And since there is no repayment, if a home buyer no longer occupies the home as a primary residence, then they would be required to sell the home to another eligible buyer. Importantly, there's no required minimum buyer contribution under this pilot, but households must still qualify for a traditional mortgage. The rest of the eligibility requirements are similar to the current CHAP program that is currently down payment assistance only. All right, again, under the pilot program, the city's contribution does not need to be repaid by the homebuyer. Instead, the property is secured through a ground lease or a deed restriction document to make it permanently affordable for future generations. Other key terms of the program include the home must be used for residential purposes only, so no short-term rentals. The city must approve any significant construction or alteration. No liens may be filed against the property or the land. The city retains the right of first refusal, meaning it has the option to purchase the home whenever it is resold. And finally, the homeowner is required to sell the home to another eligible buyer. These protections ensure that public investment results in lasting affordability while still offering homebuyers the opportunity for stability and long-term residency. So what does that look like? Let's walk through a simple scenario to show how this pilot works. A home is listed on the market for $600,000. Under this pilot, the city would contribute 30% of the purchase price, or $180,000. That means the homebuyer would only need to finance $420,000. This structure significantly reduces the buyer's monthly housing costs and puts single-family homeownership within reach for households that would otherwise be priced out of the market. Now let's walk through a simple example of what the affordable resale price under this program would be, keeping in mind that the program is meant to provide affordability and stability for a home buyer. Let's say the home buyer originally purchases a price for $420,000. At resale, the home now appraises for $700,000. That's a $100,000 increase in market value from their appraisal when they purchase the home. The home buyer is entitled to 25% of that $100,000 increase in value, which equals $25,000. So the maximum amount that the home can be resold for is $420,000, which is the initial purchase price, plus the $25,000, or the 25% increase in value, for a resale price of $445,000. So as we wrap up, here are your 3 options, council. First, you may choose to adopt the resolution as presented, approving both the proposed program changes and the permanent affordability pilot. Second, you may choose to adopt with amendments, approving the changes and or the pilot with specific modifications as directed by you. And third, council may choose to deny the adoption, which would mean not approving the proposed program changes and or the pilot at this time. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions or take comments.
Thank you. Well done.
Thanks.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Adriana and staff, for the presentation and for operating one of my favorite departments within the section of the city for many reasons, one of which is primarily everyone deserves a place to call home regardless of race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, job title, or family history. Having a stable living environment is imperative to our physical, mental, and mental health for a family unit, and overall increases the quality of life quotient that is often unquantifiable, and these programs help ensure that. I'm excited about all of the new changes, quite honestly. within every part of this presentation, primarily because it helps build equity for those that are not given a fair shake due to our current economic climate and the divide that persists between the working class or have-nots, folks like myself who live paycheck to paycheck, not able to invest in the time value of money, and those that I've termed the invested class or the haves, the folks that have achieved upward mobility, allowing them to be able to make their money grow for them and throughout all their investments. The proposed changes allow for a shared responsibility, but in my opinion, for the shared responsibility between the community home buyer assistance programs, housing solutions, and our essential workforce in establishing a foundation for generational wealth building opportunities, as homeownership is often the catalyst and cornerstone of this life-changing evolution. I do have one quick question, and it's on slide labeled option 1, home purchase assistance. Can you take this opportunity to highlight the thought process behind proposed changes in buyer contribution from $1,000 to $2,500? And I'll preface that with the idea that I have behind that. Yes, this one.
This one.
Yes, and so what I'm seeing here is before you were allowed to have the home buyer contribution only $1,000, which would be matched up to 10 times that amount, which is $10,000. And that's for a down payment, right? And in this economy, $10,000 is not enough for a down payment. Is that the thought process behind this change?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Garcia, Mayor Councilmember Garcia. The reason for this proposed change is that we wanted home buyers to have a little bit more stake in their purchase. That does not mean that if I were your sister and I want to gift you $2,500 to purchase your home, that $2,500 that you provide and the $2,500 that I provide would make $5,000, so you could access the full $5,000, $50,000 loan. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, and I like that you have more skin in the game and potentially a lower monthly payment because of that. Thank you for that.
Councilmember House.
I was going to say you can go to Councilmember Matthews before me.
Councilmember Matthews.
Thank you, Mayor. Just some clarification questions. You had said that you would allow the housing ratio to be 35%. I've been out of lending for over a decade, but my recollection was maybe 28% housing, 45, total. So how does that fit within the lending limits when they go out to get the rest of the money to buy their house?
I might have to pull our partners over here to help answer the question. Thank you for the question, though. That was fast.
I was ready. I was literally like, please, Adriana, give it to me. I'm ready. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Once again, I'm Devonna McLaughlin with Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Matthews. Historically, we look to define affordable housing as about a third of your income going towards your housing expense. So we have been around that 33% housing ratio. The CHAT program for the past several years has gone up to 35% to just give a little bit more buying power to folks. And lenders go up to 42% with desktop underwriting approval. So we're actually more conservative than what the lenders will do. The reason we wanted to give a range is to really understand that 35% isn't always perfect for someone, but 20% is a little over-subsidized, right? Who wouldn't want a 20% housing ratio, but how low do you want to go? And so this really defines affordability at about a third of your income going towards housing, and we feel like that's attainable and sustainable for the families we serve.
Thank you. And then stay up here because I don't know which one.
I'll just go to right there when I'm done, so I'll be fast to come
okay.
back up, but I'm happy for this one, yeah.
So how, I forgot what slide it was on, but you mentioned they can't have a lien on the land. So in a lender's perspective, you are refinancing a house or financing a house. it's assumed it's the whole thing. So how, can you just explain that a little bit more?
Do you want me to start that one?
Yes.
So that was under the permanent affordability piece. So if there is a ground lease, if it's part of the community land trust program, then there would be a loan against the improvements, but they can't leverage the land itself because they only have a leasehold value on that land. It's not fee simple. So that's how they can't secure the value of the land, because that would belong to the city of Flagstaff through the community land trust program. Did I answer that right, Justina? Okay.
Yes, well, that's how I remembered it when we had the conversation. I'm really excited about this program, but it was important to understand that in the affordable, permanent affordable housing piece, that down payment assistant covers the value of the land.
Give or take, right? About a third, right? So 30% is what the household can get in order to get into that permanent affordability. We're not going to split hairs about if it's $2,000 off or on. It's just you buy into permanent affordability because you're essentially buying the value of the land.
Great. And then lastly, how do we monitor that the house remains owner occupied?
You want to take that one?
This is a very simple question for us. We send out over 200 letters in the mail that have to be certified every about year and a half to 2 years, just to ensure that the individuals that are supposed to be living in the home are living in the home.
Great, I appreciate that. And once again, once I heard about these two programs, I've been so excited for you guys to get here and bring it to council, so then we can sing at the top of our, the rooftops about this, because I think it's two really great programs that will really help our affordability in Flagstaff. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Spence.
Thank you, Mayor. I too am excited for this pilot project, but my question is, since there'll be more money going to an individual participant, have you made projections on how fast you're going to blow through the $7 million if this pilot program takes off and people opt for the pilot as opposed to the option one? Do you have any way of monitoring how successful the pilot is? And it's got a great goal of creating permanent affordability. That's worth a lot. But what's your projection going forward as to how many people will opt for the pilot, and what will that do to your $7 million allocation?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Spence. That's a great question. In our calculations, which we utilize for the contract and to draft how much money we actually needed to pay Devonna for her services. Thank you, Devonna. Oh, you're over here.
Yeah, but it's also to housing.
It's Housing Solutions, not Devonna. We're not paying her. We're paying Housing Solutions. We have set aside about $1 million for that. We anticipate about one home buyer per year. We could be wrong. We're not tied to that idea, but our projection is about one per year. That the existing permanent affordability program has about 1 or 2 resales a year. So we're thinking about one is going to be the goal. Does that help?
Yes, that's a helpful analysis. Are there any legal pitfalls in a pilot program like this? If we start something and somebody later comes back and sues us because we discontinued the program before they got a chance to apply?
That's a great question for our legal person.
I was just going to say, anybody can, Mayor, Council, and Councilmember Spence, anybody can bring litigation at any time for anything. That said, I think there would be parameters that we would put around this to make it safe, but I'll defer to Anya on that.
Good Evening, Mayor and council members. Anya Wendell with the City Attorney's Office. So the city program is not a contract unless somebody acts in reliance on it. So if you had a program and somebody submits an application and they do all these things in reliance on the program, they arguably have a vested benefit, but again, not until the contract is approved and the money is funded would that be like a fully formed contract. So I don't believe there would be much legal risk. And Sterling, feel free to comment.
No, there's nothing further, thanks.
Thank you. I think it's a wonderful idea, and it's got great potential, and if it shows success, we can go back to the voters for more bond money.
Good evening, Justina Costa, Assistant Housing Director. I wanted to add one quick point that we plan to incorporate on the city's housing website, and that is going to be a tracker of some kind that will track the funds as they're being spent down so that individuals in the community are able to see how much money is remaining in both categories. And that was actually a recommendation that we received when we did a home buying event in conjunction with Housing Solutions and the Northern Arizona Association of Realtors. So we're planning to incorporate that. And Councilmember Sweet's recommendation? Yes, and also, of course, Councilmember Sweet. Thank you.
I have a quick question that just raised. So I see that we have the 7 million from the bond, and then we have 3 million from the general fund for this program. No, I did not read that correctly.
Thank you for the question. I'll just answer while I'm up here. We only have the $7 million and 500,000. Part of that in the contract is going to be funded with these bond funds for administration.
Okay, I must have misread something. And is the pot for, I mean, it could be any combination of option 1 or option 2. The money's not like strictly divided between the two options.
It's not. It's just a projection when we were calculating how much money we would need for administrative costs. That's what we projected on average about one sale through the permanent affordability pilot. But it's nowhere set in stone that we will only help 7 families. We hope it's popular though.
Got it. Thank you. I agree. This is a wonderful new tool, and I'm eager to see, what the public thinks of it and whether they'll utilize it. And I'm really grateful to the partnership with Housing Solutions to administer this and get this money out the door so that more people can go in the door. That's a Garcia right there.
That was really good.
Okay. All right, so Councilmember House, I recognize that you want to make a motion, but we do have public comment. So I would like to take Devonna McLaughlin.
Sorry, you knew I'd come up here for this one. I just want to take a quick minute to do a couple of things. One is to thank you guys for your investment in homeownership. This is not the first time that the city of Flagstaff has said that homeownership is important to the residents of Flagstaff. Since you guys started investing in homeownership in 1999, the city has provided down payment assistance to 306 first-time Flagstaff homebuyers through your general funded CHAP program. You have provided $4,062,000 towards that investment. And so some of that money was recycled, some of it was one-time funds, but these first CHAP bond-funded buyers are not the first people to benefit from your investment. In addition to that, you have funded 39 employer-assisted housing loans, helping your employees open the door to homeownership in Northern Arizona. That's $405,832 that you've invested in your employees to have homeownership in our community. So thank you for that vision and for that investment, and thank you for the expansion through the bond funds, and to the voters who saw that this was an important investment. We started administering the CHAP bond funds August 1st. I will tell you the excitement and the interest is significant. In the last 3 months, we've already helped 3 home buyers utilize the bond funds, so we've already spent $150,000. Happy to spend some more. The first 2 buyers both worked at NAU. The next buyer worked at Coconino County and Nackerd Pepsi, and then the third buyers worked at Mission Linen and FUSD. So you are really helping our workforce. In addition to those 3 buyers, so first I want to say that leveraged $65,000 of buyer contribution. So folks are putting up their own money and qualifying for mortgages to make homeownership a reality. We leveraged $32,000 of wish funds for one of those buyers and $970,000 in mortgage financing. So that's what your $150,000 investment got. In addition to that, we have 5 buyers who are under contract to purchase in November and December. All told, those 8 buyers, I can't read my own writing, have spent an average of 12 and a quarter years in Flagstaff. The longest folks have been here for 28 years, and the shortest folks have been here for 2 years. We've helped 20 individuals in those 8 families. The average area median income served is 105.68%. Additional employers who will benefit because their employees will have permanent home ownership include 2 more NAU buyers, a GORE buyer, another FUSD employee, a local counseling agency, 2 counseling agencies actually. So you are hitting the workforce that you're intending with this program. We also have 13 additional households income qualified who are shopping for homes. So I'm excited to come back to you and share your impact annually, because I think this program just builds on the success of the programs and the investment you've already made. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Devonna, and please don't step away. Can you email all of that to council?
Yes, I'll do better than my spreadsheet, but yes, I will. No, gosh,
Yeah.
no. No, and we won't give you the client data specifically, but we can tell you the employers and the aggregate AMIs and the number of people served, all of that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
And that raises another question for me. Are there other employers in Flagstaff that have an employee assistance program
Gosh,
for
I just talked
homeownership?
to Justina about this morning. I have to give you guys kudos because you guys, as far as we're aware, are making the largest investment in employer-assisted housing. We're fortunate to work with Coconino County as well, who has an employer-assisted housing benefit for their law enforcement personnel. You're not the only ones doing it, but as far as numbers go, and not everyone administers through us, so people could be doing amazing things we just don't know about. But you guys really are taking the cake in investing in employees who can now own and stay in Flagstaff. So probably smaller groups are doing it, or private sector groups are doing it and not sharing it publicly. But we appreciate that you guys see that investment as important.
So here's a fun challenge to all the larger employers in Flagstaff is to think about providing some sort of a service like this.
Yep. So, and we also helped one of your employees purchase since August as well. So you had 1 employer-assisted housing beneficiary in the last quarter too, in addition to the 3 CHAP clients. So, numbers and data, but I'll email it to you. You'll get the info.
Typed, yeah.
Much better than this scribbled mess. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't see any additional questions, so I'm going to throw it to Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. I held a comment earlier and just wanted to note that I was really appreciative of the comments from Adriana in the presentation on the recognition that single-family houses are the most expensive in Flagstaff. What that tells me is that this program is really supporting our need to expand diverse housing options in our community. It's providing people opportunities to invest in neighborhood scale housing. It's giving people the opportunity to find the types of housing that meet their needs while also creating supply for other people. And so it's an opportunity for us to really join and partner as a whole community in meeting the needs for housing within our own community and helping that expand and grow. So I am just very grateful for that. And were you going to respond to that, or? Okay.
I'm all ears.
I will go ahead then, Mayor, and I would like to make a motion that we read resolution number 2025-57 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? City Clerk?
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council adopting the Community Homebuyer Assistance Program bond-funded expansion, authorizing use of bond funds for the program, providing for delegation of authority to implement the program, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor, I would like to move to adopt resolution number 2025-57.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, housing staff. Thank you, Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. And thank you, Flagstaff voters, for making this money available. All right. Speaking of housing, moving down to D, consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2025-22.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Stacy Salzberg, Communication and Civic Engagement Director. This ordinance before you today is to create a new housing division, which is really exciting, as well as taking the opportunity to rename the Community Development Division as the Planning and Development Services Division. This move comes following discussions during your last budget process. And while I'm certainly not the subject matter expert, I was happy to introduce this item, and I'm going to turn it over to Deputy City Manager Joanne Keene to talk a little bit more about this.
Great. Well, thank you, Stacy. This is an exciting item. We don't have a presentation, but this has been a long time coming. If you recall, we had this discussion in the budget retreat and then started moving forward with the changing community development to planning and development services. Completed that process, and now we're in the process of pulling out housing, and housing will be officially a division in December. So thanks for all of your feedback during that process as well, and the community as well. But what I wanted to do today, I realized pretty recently that I have not introduced our new Planning and Development Services Director, Michelle McNulty. Michelle was hired in June. If you all recall, we had a transition in leadership. Dan Folk moved on to another organization, and it gave us the opportunity to open this director position as a Planning and Development Services Director position. And just a reminder, planning, building, and real estate reports into this division. But what I want to just give Michelle a quick introduction and then give her an opportunity to talk about kind of what her vision is for the PDS division. I know many of you have worked with her, and our meetings are just fast and exciting, and she's got so many great ideas, and we're really lucky to have her. So Michelle came to us. She has 20 years of public service and private sector experience in land use, transportation planning, and community development. She's a certified planner, and she joined the Flagstaff team in 2022 as the planning director, served as the interim community development director during the transition. Prior to coming to Flagstaff, she served as the planning director for the municipality of Anchorage, and she holds a Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology from Ohio State and a Master's of Art in Rural Geography from NAU. And if you recall, during her interview process, she actually said she was an intern here at the city of Flagstaff. So I'd like to give an opportunity, first of all, to welcome Michelle, introduce her, and then just give her a couple minutes just to talk about her vision. So, thank you.
Mayor, Council, and thank you, Joanne, for that very nice introduction. And it's nice to formally meet you as the Planning and Development Services Director. It's been a really fun, exciting about 4.5 months. It seems like it's been about 4.5 years, but and that's good because of how much stuff we're getting done. As Joanne mentioned, just kind of a minute about the vision for the division. So we're kind of taking this reorganization opportunity to restructure a few positions so that we can improve the building permit and planning application intake processes. And this really includes adding capacity to regularly evaluate our review and approval processes as a whole, make needed changes, and create clear and comprehensive training and user guide materials, both for internal staff, but also for our external clients. The restructuring is really focused on building staff capacity to streamline our review and approval processes, make them easier to navigate and faster to get approvals, but as well as to continue to deliver top-notch real estate services, community planning, and building services. And more detail on this will be provided at the PDS update in November. And then just most importantly, PDS is committed to our continuous collaboration and just work with housing to move projects and code changes and whatever else they need forward. And so I want to make sure that that's clear that we're going to continue to work very seamlessly together. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. We have been wanting, or I know some of us, and I'm guessing all of us, wanted to see this for a long time. So I am very happy about this. And it looks like Councilmember House has a comment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Stacy and Joanne and Michelle, all for your parts of this presentation. This is definitely a long time coming. Very excited to see the establishment of the Housing Division. I know we've talked about this for a long time, and it's an exciting moment of growth and opportunity for our community and for Team Flagstaff. Very excited, Michelle, to see your vision come to fruition for your division and all that can come from this reframing and all the things that it will enable you to do as well. So just very, very excited, and I would be happy to make a motion unless there are other comments. Mayor, I would move to read ordinance number 2025-22 by title only for the first time.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
City Clerk?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Flagstaff, amending the Flagstaff City Code, Chapter 1-18, Administrative Departments, to establish the Housing Division and rename the Community Development Division to the Planning and Development Services Division, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, authority for clerical corrections, and establishing an effective date.
Thank you. I feel like we need champagne or something. Okay. Oh, Councilmember Spence.
Point of order. Councilmember Aslan, I don't know if he was delayed in supporting the motion or whether he was opposed. So could we ask for clarification?
Councilmember Aslan.
Yes vote.
Go ahead.
He said it was a yes
I
vote.
voted in favor.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're moving down to E.
Mayor? Don't we have to move to adopt?
No, at the
Already do that?
November 4th.
Yeah, it's at the next meeting, yeah. All good?
Okay, moving down to E, consideration and adoption of resolution number 2025-58.
I'm back. I like it when I have back-to-back items. So the resolution that's in front of you for consideration is the next step needed in our regional plan process. As you are aware, and thank you for approving the regional plan, we now have to take that to the voters for ratification. It's the legally required next step. So this resolution will officially call the special election to seek that ratification. The election will occur on May 19th, 2026, and will be a vote by mail election. If the resolution is adopted, I will move forward with the next steps of notifying the public, doing our regularly required postings and notifications, seeking pro-con statements and such, and start preparing for the election. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Councilmember Spence.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, hold on. Any questions? I have a question. Sorry, Stacy. Just very quickly, at some point, can we hear from staff about what the plan is for outreach and so forth?
Absolutely. We generally try to put something together just as we start to enter into that phase of outreach and education.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Your motion.
Thank you. I move that we read Resolution 2025-58 by title only.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, City Clerk.
A resolution of the Flagstaff City Council ordering and calling a special election in and for the city of Flagstaff, Arizona, to submit to the qualified electors thereof a question with respect to ratification of the adoption of the Flagstaff Regional Land Use Plan 2045 as the new general plan for the city of Flagstaff.
A motion to adopt?
I move to adopt resolution number 2025-58.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, moving down to future agenda item requests. We have a fair from Councilmember Aslan. Would you like to talk about it, Councilmember?
That's me. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be brief here. I hope this is pretty straightforward for everybody. The city of Flagstaff has been ramping up its interest and its intention to be a film-friendly community. There are a couple obstacles in the way of that. This is just really kind of a house cleaning proposal. I'm really excited for staff to take this one away and do a presentation and make the pitch about exactly what they'd like to have. But the gist of it is what I've said earlier. You know, we've created a part-time film commissioner position to help capture the economic opportunity that filming represents. But unlike Phoenix, we don't yet have a regulation clarifying the roles of other city departments in facilitating productions. And we don't, and we could use a slightly more cohesive policy that that really shows the intent that we're being film friendly. One example of this is if you go to Buffalo Park with a film permit, you're allowed to stand on the trail and do all the filming that you need to do, but you have to do it from the trail. While meanwhile, a local resident is not subject to the same policy, even though it might be polite of them to stay on the trail. They certainly aren't required to. These are the sorts of impediments to making Flagstaff film friendly that should be at least explored by staff, and I'm confident they can come up with a cohesive, coherent, actionable resolution in the spirit of what Phoenix has. And I also mentioned in my initial pitch for this fair that it might have some similar hints to what we see in the Federal Explore Act, which just makes it, it's cutting red tape for people who'd like to film. And this might not be such a problem for a huge production, but we don't really get huge productions that often. This is going to be a real game changer for smaller productions, student films, and commercials, and those sorts of things coming through town. I just think if we can get in the habit of being known as a film-friendly community, there's going to be that snowball effect, and we're going to see more and more projects coming in, and our BB&B revenues, our parks, our arts, our open spaces, and our hotels and restaurants and local businesses, from stylists to equipment rentals, are all going to benefit from this.
All right, so we're not looking for a discussion. Council, we're just looking for 2 additional thumbs up to have the discussion. All right, we have 3 additional thumbs up to have the discussion.
Thank you very much, Council. I'm looking forward to that conversation.
All right, thanks. Okay, moving on to open call to the public. Seeing none, moving on to informational items, 2 from Mayor, Council, and staff, and future agenda item requests. Let's start with Councilmember Matthews.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to invite the public out to the 22nd Annual Celebraciones de la Gente this Saturday, October 25th, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, October 26th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Museum of Northern Arizona. You can come out on that early morning and see myself, County Supervisor Geronimo Vasquez, and County Treasurer Sarah Benatar, and we will be reading the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos cards for the program that's happening early in the morning. So I think it'll be between about 10 o'clock and about noon that we'll be there. And I'd invite the rest of the community out to come and pay homage to this celebration of Hispanic heritage. Thank you.
Councilmember Aslan.
Nothing for me tonight.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. We have a long week ahead, and I have some great information on my trip down to Phoenix to the cul-de-sac development, but I'm going to save it for next week. Thank you.
Councilmember House.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 things tonight. First, I would like to schedule a conversation about potentially contributing to a room at the Lantern. As folks know, they are about to open that community resource with over 100 rooms for community members who have been experiencing homelessness. And I can tell you from personal experience that it costs about $315 to fund the furnishings for a room that are needed. So I would like us to consider as council furnishing a room using the Council Initiative Fund. The other item that I have is introducing officially a fair. I'd like to propose that the City of Flagstaff consider exploring a resolution to become a recovery-ready community. I wanted to thank and specifically call out Deputy City Manager Shannon Anderson, who is inconveniently sitting all the way in the back of the room right now. But she has been very supportive and a partner in pursuing this idea, as well as the teams at Coconino Children and Youth and the Coconino Crisis Coordination Team who have met and discussed this idea with me. I've shared with some folks that from the Mental Health America Annual State of Mental Health in America report, Arizona ranks second to last in behavioral health access and care, particularly for children and youth. We all just recently probably saw the news reports that show the rising number of absenteeism in our Arizona schools. And I believe that this resolution and this action would affirm our commitment to supporting individuals and families who are impacted by substance use and mental health challenges through recovery-friendly policies, workplaces, and partnerships. I think it aligns well with the work that we've already done to become a trauma-informed workplace community, and also believe that a resolution on this need would align with our community's values of health, inclusion, and opportunity, and could serve as a foundation for future collaborations with local and state recovery initiatives. So I would ask that council consider scheduling a future discussion to review this proposal and potential next steps. And that's all for me tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Spence.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. One is tomorrow is the Voices Unheard Breaking the Silence event from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Coconino Center for the Arts. There were two films, one showed last night and one shown tonight that we have missed. And the whole conversation is going to be about missing and murdered Indigenous women, human trafficking of Indigenous people, policy reform. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. And then on Saturday, let me get to it, there's a harvest festival at the new, or going to be new, Indigenous Community Cultural Center, which is on Mogollon Street from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this will be a great opportunity to come out and see the outside of the building. And there will be cultural dances, presentations, and demonstrations, and just a great opportunity to talk with members of the Indigenous Circle of Flagstaff and to help build the excitement around creating this Indigenous Community Cultural Center. I think there might have been something else. Hold on just a second. Oh, it's also drop-off day on Saturday at the Coconino County Health and Human Services building on King Street from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is something that the Sustainability Division puts on, and you can find more information on our website or on social media. And okay, that's all I have. Thank you. City Manager.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council, for tonight. That was very nice.
All right, we're adjourned.